Hey.
No, nothing. No, I got nothing. You got me?
I got you.
So we got a weird routing thing. I don't hear anything. I heard the music. Am I there now? Okay, yeah. Nothing like WJOB Graham. Well, I can't hear anything else, so we'll figure that out. We'll do it live. Bob says
We'll do it live.
We'll do it live.
We'll do it live.
I heard that. It is 6:01 in the region. Now, see, there we go. What was that?
There, just hold your finger on that button for the next couple hours.
Just wrap some tinfoil around it. As I say, that voice you hear, did we hear your voice yet, Joe? Joe's here this morning.
Hey, Joe. Long time no see. Where you been, man?
And is he on?
I
don't hear you, though. Just keep pushing buttons. Eventually, we'll hear each other.
Hello.
There we go.
There you go.
Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect. All right. It's all sorted. I have been working the Thursday, Fridays right before the weekends.
So, you know what? We have a running joke here. Lyneth recently told us that this was her second favorite show, and I was okay with that for a while, but then I realized she only produces 2 shows. So, like in your case, I don't know how many you produce. So, like, is this like your 3rd favorite show, 4th favorite show? Where do you fall?
I mean, I've produced, I think, every show. I think this probably sits pretty comfortably at 2.
See? Okay, I'm good with that. That's like a B.
Only when Bob's on.
Only when Bob's.
Yeah. I'd like to see Dabberton have these kind of graphics.
Speaking of, this is, in case you're wondering, this is a new show. We've decided to rebrand because Bob got around to doing it. We're now calling this
There's so much truth in that.
The fall of Chuck and Bob, Steampunk Bob and Steampunk Chuck. You could have gone with Bob and Chuck. I mean, I think traditionally you have to go in alphabetical order, but I'm good either way. I appreciate
Chuck and Bob flows better, I think.
Chuck and Bob?
Yeah. Like
okay.
Chuck and Larry.
Well, I was going to say like Chuck and Larry, but I didn't want to make that comparison. But it is what it is. So it is 6:03 in the region now that we've bantered for 3 minutes. Let's take a first look at traffic and weather. Taking a look at traffic here in the region, things are looking spectacular this morning. No real slowdowns anywhere. If you're heading into the city, you've got the usual building traffic on the Dan Ryan. Bishop Ford's still looking good. 394, 294, all the 94s looking good in Illinois. So not much to report at the moment, but if you see something, you know the number, 219-845-1100. How is the weather, Mr. Joe?
All right, the weather today is looking great. We're going to have a high of 61 today and tomorrow. There's going to be some clouds and some breeze, but for the most part, it's going to feel like 60, and it's going to be 60, so that's always a good sign. Wednesday, the high is going to be 57. It's going to drop a little bit. The sun's going to go away. It's going to be a lot of clouds and windiness. Thursday, you're finally going to get some rain, some clouds, and a high of 52. And then heading into the weekend on Halloween, it'll be a nice, cool 53 degrees with some suns and some periods of cloud. And then Saturday, Sunday will be 52 and 51 respectively. Saturday will have some rain, but Sunday will just be some clouds and sun. And that's your weather for the week.
That's fantastic. I was looking forward to it.
I think I heard windiness. Did I hear windiness?
An abundance of windiness.
Yeah, I mean, that's a problem. I hate wind. Wind is what makes everything cold. I swear I could go outside and it'd be 20 degrees out and there'll be no wind and I could be without a shirt on and I'll be fine.
At least we're not talking about wind chills yet. We're still early in that. But
we have moved away from the UVs. So that's transitioning.
So just to mention, Bob's moving to a new microphone. So let us know how that sounds. If he sounds more sultry with his expensive Shure microphone.
It looks cool.
It looks cool. Well, that's the important thing. I think we could probably switch to that. I'm getting tired of headsets myself. I brought in some nice headsets. They, of course, disappeared for sports. So I think it would just bring in – we can put, our logos on the mic stands.
We can. There's
nobody can
all
steal
sorts of things you could do with it. And that was mine. I just got sick.
See, now you look towards me, though, and you're talking –
Well, yeah, but it
See, I think that's the problem.
Mic.
Okay, I think it's I think it's a unidirectional.
And just put it in front of you.
Yeah,
like a concert or something.
Right. I think you need to hold it right, put your mouth right on it like a musician.
So basically, I need a headset, but for this.
But you need to just strap it to your head. Is what we're saying. Yeah.
No. This is our my second show using it, and we're just going to experiment and see a little bit. But yeah, I got sick of the headsets. It did something with my.
Messed up your hair and whatnot?
It messed up my hair, the 4 of them left on my head. And
have you guys ever been worried about headset dents? It's a very big gamer thing.
I have that with different headphones when I do other shows. I've had or I have shedding headset. You ever had that where you have older headsets like the ones we have here, and they start shedding? You get all this little black stuff in your
ours
hair.
are
A couple of ours.
Ours are shedding, yeah.
Yeah.
So like you come an hour later, I'm like I'm shedding. What am I losing? I'm losing plastic, but it's just the headset's falling apart. But that's enough complaining about the studio today. It's a beautiful Monday morning here in the region. We got a lot going on today. We want to get to. We want to talk about. Did you make it out to Commander this weekend? Did you get your last bowl of lemon rice soup? I took the family on Saturday. We had some saganaki and we had some lemon rice soup and shared a few different things. And it was not. It's a sad time. Commander, a region staple for was it 50 years or whatever.
Yeah,
it was.
I was gonna say it was forever. We would go there a lot for breakfast. That was one of the spots that my mom would like to go to. So we would go there, and we didn't make it out this weekend for the last hurrah, but it was a good breakfast place. And I do have to say, I wish whoever bought it and is going to rebrand and redo, hopefully they've got 50 years and they become the next staple.
Well, it sounds like they're keeping a lot of the employees. They're going to keep a lot of it the same. I think the big question this weekend has been about the soup. I don't know that the soup recipe stays. I think that's going to be a big point of contention. I think that goes with the family. So, Joe, did you say we had calls already? Okay, well, let's go ahead and take them. I don't want to keep them waiting. So, hey, good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Well, have you gotten your COVID shot yet?
Oh, yeah, all 15 of them.
All 15 boosters.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's if that's what people would like to do, it's just like the flu shot. If that's what you'd like to do, you should. It's funny. Well, I'm going to digress right out of the gate. It's funny when government mandates things. Certain people say, look, you guys do what you want. Like in my case, I said, I don't really feel the need to take it. I was basically forced to continue working in Chicago. I took the J&J, sort of the fake one. But then on the other side of things, when government says you don't, it's kind of like, like Florida, for instance, are taking fluoride out of the water. And people are saying, how dare you take that away? Nobody's banning anything. We're just telling you have the option to do it or not. It's sort of funny, those same people that were telling everybody to do something are now having a fit because they, people are given an option. So it's kind of funny the way that works out. But anyway, how about you? Are you a booster guy?
Yes, I did get. I'm over 80, and the current administration recommends that if you're over 80, that's a good idea to get the shot. I did. It's a kinder, gentler COVID shot. Well,
and that's the important thing. I mean, we're a few years removed. I'm a little more comfortable. I think at the time, a lot of this was, they talked about the experimental shot and things like that. Now that we're a little bit further removed, I mean, again, I don't disagree with you about being older and taking the shot and things like that. Again, your choice. Do it. Same with the flu shot. Do what you want. It's available. Get it. Don't get it. Whatever. So it's nice that we have that option.
Back during the COVID pandemic, I had it twice. Those times when they put that needle in, it hurt. It was stiff, felt stiff, but this time it went in smooth as silk. Didn't feel a thing. Well,
did you do that? Did you get the shot in a drive-through while they're handing you a donut, like a lot of people did? Like you're driving through Strax, and they just give you a shot while you're going 5 miles an hour through the parking lot. They throw a donut in your window.
No,
I'm now considering the shot. I didn't know that was a thing.
No, I got it at Walgreens, and I was ushered into a little side room, and I got the shot. 6 hours later, there was a little bit of stiffness. 6 hours later, but otherwise, it was very pleasant compared to what it was 3 years ago, kind of thing.
Good. Okay.
But I'm not saying that the government should demand that everybody get it. I got it for my purposes, but I hope it stays voluntary.
Which is the way it's supposed to be. So, I got something I want to talk about, Walt. But anything else on your mind?
Well, I'm looking at a piece out of Chicago Sun-Times Sunday, and its headline, Civic Federation accuses Mayor Johnson of using bad practices to avoid tough budget choices. The reason I bring this to your audience's attention, I really feel sorry for the Civic Federation. You go back 20 years, and I've watched the Chicago Public Television. They have a news show every night, and on Friday night, it's Chicago Week in Review and so forth. The Civic Federation has been on that program for 20 years. Warning, warning, warning. You've got to clean up your budgeting practice. You got to stop spending money you don't have, because eventually you're going to hit a wall and all the choices will be bad.
So, Walt,
Wow.
that's a good segue, because you and I have been on these airwaves for quite a long time, and I always make it a point that every time the United States deficit reaches a new milestone that I bring it up. So, as you probably know, we hit $38 trillion the other day.
Mm-hmm.
I always joke I've been on these airwaves for about $20 trillion now, warning people about this. It's interesting. I was reading an article in the Financial Times, and so one of the arguments that people always have with me is like, well, Chuck, you need to look at debt to GDP. I said, well, I am, and that's getting out of control as well.
Yes.
But here's an interesting article that talks about the U.S. government's debt burden is on track to exceed levels in both Italy and Greece for the first time this century. So the general government gross debt in the United States will rise to more than 20 percentage points from now, and will eventually reach 143% of GDP by the end of the decade. So essentially, we're right around, I think, 125, 130% of GDP. They expect that we're going to hit 140 plus percent of GDP. So essentially, the debt is outpacing the growth, our growth as a country. Well, I don't see, when we talked about this 10 years ago, I said, there's a possibility that if we rein this in, we could probably get this under control. At this point, I look back to the days where people were protesting Elon over the summer for trying to rein in government spending. I think once that ship sailed, once Elon left Washington, said, you know what, he threw up his hands, said, I'm done with this. I think I think we're done. I don't think that there's any scenario at this point where anyone comes in with a realistic plan to address the debt at this point.
And the mega billionaire, barely scratched the surface.
Right. Didn't even get to the big enchilada, which was the military spending and things like that. He was just literally going after pennies, and he never even got to the big stuff. I completely agree.
And the reaction was to burn down his
Teslas, his dealerships.
The Teslas, and people going around keying the vehicle if they spotted one, kind of thing. It illustrates the problem of doing this, because you have massive opposition to it at the grassroots level to the very top, all saying you lack compassion, you're a racist, you're a fascist, blah blah.
So
blah,
it's essentially
blah, blah, blah.
the message it sent was anyone who comes to Washington with the intent of addressing spending or putting the debt under control, you are going to be ostracized, and it's political suicide. I mean, it's basically saying anybody that comes in that wants to bring this debt, rein in this debt, you are done. And that's the message that's being sent to both Democrats and Republicans at this point.
I think it's worse than that. They're basically threatening your life and your family. That's how far these left-wing groups go. They don't look at the ICE situation. These are functionaries, grassroots functionaries enforcing the law as a local cop does. Okay, but it's on enforcing our immigration laws, and they're going after their families.
Right.
In a serious way.
So now, instead of addressing the issue, they're saying, no, you must take your mask off. You must wear body. Well, again, body cameras, I'm okay with, because I think that's, again, you can't, that's something you can't fake. I want accountability on both sides, but this idea of no, you can't hide your identity. It's like, well, why don't you address the underlying issues of why they want to hide their identities, and then you won't have to worry about it.
Right.
Okay, so Walt, that brings me to my last thing I wanted to bring up to you. I was listening on Thursday, and you had called in. Adriana was playing some clips from the No Kings protest, and you were kind of talking to her. You were doing what Walt does. You were pushing back, and it got me thinking, Walt. I was thinking about when she was playing those clips, and you called in afterwards. I was thinking about, basically the idea of grievances. And I was thinking, and you know history really well. You know Martin Luther and things like that. Can you imagine a scenario where Martin Luther, when he went and nailed his 95 grievances to the church in Germany, had been wearing a giant gerbil costume? Or Ben Franklin made several trips to England before 1776. I think he went in the 50s and 60s to try to bring the colonist grievances to the king. Imagine if he would have shown up in England dressed like a giant unicorn. They probably would not have taken him very seriously. You get where I'm going with this, Walt? Is that I for one,
well, maybe in France.
Well, yes, that would have worked. I would have played well in France. But my point is, Walt, looking at this from a historical perspective, I have yet to hear an organized list of grievances. Martin Luther, 95 grievances. You know, the founding of this country was based on a document of grievances, and I have yet to hear the protesters with any sort of cohesive grievances. All I see is a bunch of people dressed like gerbils and unicorns dancing in the street. And I ask, how do I take you seriously if you can't present to me, other than shouting, you know, tyranny and things like that, if you can't present grievances? How do you expect to find solutions? And that's what I want.
Well, if it was a real tyranny, they wouldn't be allowed to march. I mean, in real tyrannies around the world, like Red China, Iran, and places like that, they kill you.
Right.
They bring out the cops and they say disperse, and they give you about 2 seconds to disperse, and then they start firing. Not pepper bullets or tear gas and stuff like it. They send real bullets. That's how they respond. That's how a real tyranny operates.
Well, and also, I mean, we're continuing to see this escalation. We had this incident out of in California last week where you had Bob, do you remember where this? I'm trying to remember the Navy Yard. And is it Alameda, I think? So they had this shooting where somebody in a U-Haul basically tried to drive backwards into a group of police officers. They fired on him, innocent people that were just standing there. Somebody got hit. I mean, again, this is the escalation that we're looking at, that we're going to continue to see, because like you said, Walt, police officers don't mess around. If you try to run them over, if you mess with, you know, like,
you can't, you just can't do what surprises me. And then there's backlash over, the police did this or ICE did this, because I think we've seen that a couple times with ICE. Protesters staying out the way, and then they start smacking the truck. You got to get out of there.
Well, but this is
play stupid games, win stupid prizes. I mean, I know that sounds brutal, perhaps, but you simply cannot attempt to back over police officers and expect your day to end well.
So this is kind of the idea: is you've got these people. Somebody called them LARPing. You have all these people LARPing as unicorns and hamsters, but they're right there with ICE, with police officers, and it goes from having fun to getting serious real quick. And then that reality sets in for these people, and it's kind of like, well, now what? What did I do wrong? Like, well, you just attacked a police officer while dressed as a unicorn. What do you think just happened?
Did you guys ever see the frog clip?
The frog, the pepper spray one?
Yeah.
But
yes.
Well, we can talk about that. Why don't we talk about that after the break? But so, Walt, any final thoughts before we go to our break?
Civilization is a very thin veneer, and once it goes, trying to get it back is almost impossible. And when you have major leaderships of major party in this country encouraging people to attack ICE, like in Illinois, they're attacking the state police troopers, they're attacking the county deputies and so forth. You keep that up, and you're playing with fire.
Right. No, and that's what I said. I think a lot of people are taking this too lightly, and then it goes from fun and games to serious consequences much quicker than they expect. So,
yes.
Walt, as always, I appreciate the call. Thanks for getting up early with us. I always appreciate your wisdom to start off our day. So why don't we take a break? We'll come back and talk a bit more about is it Pepe the Frog? Is that who got maced? But I mean, again, that's what I want to talk about, and I want to get Joe's take on this. So let's take a break. We'll be back with more after this.
To award-winning benefits and a 24/7 support team. Explore Schneider's huge selection of driving jobs today and find your perfect fit at SchneiderJobs.com. That's SchneiderJobs.com.
I can hear that, but I can hear myself too. I think we're
Hard
starting to-
Rock Casino Northern Indiana wants to make you a winner every Friday in October with our $500K Double Down giveaway. Earn entries each week to boost your chance of winning a guaranteed $50,000. Then you can choose to walk away or risk half for a shot at $100,000 in cash. Do you dare to double down? Only at Hard Rock Casino Northern Indiana, just off Exit 6, I-80-94. Must be 21 or older. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-9-WITH-IT.
Life's biggest challenges don't come with a warning. When legal issues arise, whether it's a car accident, personal injury, criminal charge, or representing you before municipal boards, you need a trusted advocate on your side. At Westland & Bennett, we listen first because your story matters. We provide strategic, personalized legal solutions to protect your rights, your freedom, and your future. Peace of mind starts with a conversation. Call 219-440-7550 today for a free consultation.
Tech Credit Union supports the essential role of union labor in building strong communities. That's why we offer hassle-free banking, financial empowerment, and a commitment to your success. Save for the future, handle life's challenges, and trust a partner that stands by hardworking union members. Tech Credit Union, the better option for you and your money. Visit techcu.org or call 800-276-8324. Tech Credit Union, supporting union families every step of the way.
But it's time. You gotta catch up with me.
Yeah. I'll catch up with you. I'll be right back, man.
I'll see you in a minute.
Anything else?
Yeah.
Well, what's up, boy?
Hey, Ryan. Not tonight, man. Not tonight. Oh, yeah. You guys are right. Hey, come on. Let's go. Come in.
.23 in the region. It's a beautiful Monday morning in the region. You are listening to the new show. Is this a new show? Yes, it is. It's called The Fall of Chuck and Bob. There was some debate. I mean, Pumpkin Spice Chuck was on the table.
It was.
But that was shot down pretty vehemently.
How is your wife doing today?
Hopefully she's still sleeping. But
we did. We had a number of iterations, countless graphics, and this is what we're stuck with today. But the nice thing about technology and, as the boomers would say, computers, they're not going away, so we can create something new.
I wonder how much water did you use to make these AIs? You probably used like 1,000 gallons of water.
Oh, I did.
So much energy. My NIPSCO bill just went up $5.
That's not AI. I painted that.
You painted that by hand?
Yes.
It's
Yep.
What is that called? Oil on glass or something?
Yes.
He hand painted it for the last 2 years.
I did.
I don't know. So we've got a friend of mine is going to be joining us on Zoom here in a little bit, Chris Spangle, who is a long-term. I wanted to get sort of the libertarian perspective on things. We've been talking a lot about
because we don't get enough of that here on WJOB.
Well, apparently I'm not a real libertarian, which that's what happens when you spend too much time around you Republicans. Now I get called not a real libertarian. But
your chances of winning an election just went up.
Oh, why did somebody give me a check?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's true. That's how it
Am I getting dark money from somewhere? I'd be happy to take dark money. Please, I'll give you my address. Bring me all the dark money you want. So I wanted to talk to Joe, and then he's like wandering around behind the equipment, unplugging things. So I don't know. What else do you want to hit before Chris calls in? So we're
okay. So I've got this with the you had mentioned the protests about they're dressed up like I don't know, would you say
hamsters and unicorns?
And unicorns out there. When we had the No Kings protests last week, 2 weeks ago, whenever that was, we were driving through Crown Point, and I saw them on the square. And what I thought was interesting, to your point of there's no enumerated list of grievances that I could find, it seemed to be a group, and I'd love to talk to them. Chuck,
I would too. We've invited them on several times.
Come in, give us a call, because what I found was that there was it seemed like it was casting a wide net with different signs. So you would have the there were pro-choice signs. There was anti-ICE, pro-immigration signs. There were No King signs. There was LGBTQ signs. It seemed like every I guess we'll say every flavor of the left that you'll
Joe,
see
stop
on
scratching.
media.
You're scratching on air. Like it sounds like a hamster in here.
Okay. An inflatable hamster. So it seemed like every kind of issue was represented, but it didn't appear that there was any cohesion behind it. It was really just, hey, whatever protest sign you have at your house or you can make, come on out, and that's what we're going to protest. And then all just under the umbrella of No Kings. And I'm not sure exactly. I don't want to say, because I don't want anybody to get sideways with me, I don't want to say I don't know what the point is, but it would be nice to be able to go to nokings.com and see, hey, these are the 5 things that we have.
It's like
Antifa,
though. You can't be organized. There's no Antifa, so there's no Kings. You can't do that. Even though you took several $100 million, according to some sources.
Yeah, and so I guess just as a passerby through Crown Point, and I was admittedly I was very objective about it. I couldn't quite see, okay, what are we protesting?
Right. Again,
there was every make and model of protest signage out there. Each one is fine. Everybody's got an opinion. No issue with that. I just couldn't see what the organization of, why have it under the banner of No Kings? I didn't get it, and I still don't. And I like to think I'm pretty well in tune with what's going on in the political world. I think it was, you said it was LARPing. I think it was, and maybe that's what it is. Maybe No Kings was just a way to say, hey, everybody, it's a beautiful Saturday. We're not happy that Trump got elected. We're not happy with things. So whatever you're not happy about, come and express that, and that will be enough. And if that's what it is, okay. But I'm not sure that saying we're going to have this bouillabaisse of angst is actually going to move any one of those individual topics further down the field.
Well, that's my point, is that if you come at this with this hobo chili of issues, and you don't actually have any sort of cohesive plan to address any of them, you're basically just out there complaining. And that's what I keep at. I mean, and even recently with the shutdown, people are saying, well, what's the plan for this? What's the plan for that? And of course, as a libertarian, I'm like, maybe the plan is there shouldn't be a plan, because every time government comes up with a plan, it just makes things more expensive. The other thing I wanted to hit that we haven't talked about yet was, before I forget, our buddy Chris Harden, who Chris had come on here a few months ago, and he had come here when right around the time of the Gary Air Show, and he was doing a great series about Gary. He wanted to do a deep dive and understand Gary and hear the local perspective. So he talked to some of our friends. He did his first video came out a couple weeks ago. He had Jim Nowacki, talked about downtown. Our good friend, regular caller Dave from Gary, called. He joined him, and they talked a little bit about a different section. So basically, Chris Harden on YouTube. He even played a nice clip of us. He played a clip where I was making fun of Bob. So I'm like, good call there. I was calling you one of those people in government, and he decided to use that clip.
I'm sorry. Do you mean successful?
Oh yeah, that one. And so Chris Harden on YouTube, check it out. He's doing a multi-part series. I think one of them drops every Friday. It's a nice in-depth look at Gary. It's nice to get a sort of an outsider's perspective. He did a very nice, again, he's talked about the issues, a lot of interesting things. I mean, he mentioned in his first video, Jim had talked about the Railcat Stadium being one of the most expensive per-seat stadiums ever built, which, of course, that's not surprising here in the region. But a lot of just little tidbits about Gary that I didn't know. So it's nice. He's done videos about Hammond and Crown Point and places like that. So it'll be nice. Maybe we'll have him back on at some point once the whole series is out. But if you get a chance, check that out. Love to get your feedback if you grew up in Gary, live in Gary, anything like that. Love to get your feedback on the Chris Harden videos. I think so far the first two I've seen very fair and very in depth. So, what else do you want to hit before Chris Spangle comes in? You have anything else? It's the one time I tell Bob, it's like, okay, what do you got? He doesn't have his laptop. He doesn't have anything. So
yeah, I'm I'm not even going to say it. Yeah, I made 2 France references today.
Yeah,
and
go for the trifecta when you get a chance.
I will.
Do we want to talk about what's happening in Indianapolis, or do you want to save that for Chris? Maybe we'll talk about that now a little bit. We can talk about it again with Chris.
We can prep it for Chris.
So news coming out of Indianapolis over the weekend. Several sources. This started with the IBJ, who actually I think Chris is part of IBJ now. So that'll be we'll bring it all back
full circle.
A State House source, this is from Fox 59, a State House source has told Fox 59 CBS 4 that Governor Mike Braun is expected to announce on Monday that he will call an Indiana General Assembly back into session on November 3rd to consider redrawing Indiana's congressional maps. And this is something, so we'll just also bring this full circle. You're going to have Randy Niemeyer on.
Correct.
The Republican Roundtable.
Yep.
The Republican Ruffian Roundtable at 8:30. You guys will talk about that. He's heading down to Indianapolis today. And so, I mean, I'm on the fence on this. And again, maybe I'll save this for the discussion with Chris. I mean, it's sort of like this idea where if both sides are playing dirty, you kind of just sit back and just say, okay, play your games. I'll get my popcorn. Because again, as an outsider, I'm like, okay. I mean, it was funny. I mentioned like Gavin Newsom when was it Texas was talking about this. He said, what Texas is doing is an affront to democracy, and I plan on doing the exact same thing in California. It's like, okay, cool. Well, at least we're being honest with each other. So again, this is another phase in this sort of division in this country where depending on what the majority is in that state, they're basically wanting to redraw the districts to give themselves the most seats possible. So again, I mean, it's like one of those things, don't fake your outrage when Indiana does it. There's plenty of
for folks. There's a really good one of Indiana right next to Illinois.
Right.
And because of where we are, I think we both have a lot of friends and acquaintances in Illinois.
They used to live in Illinois.
Perhaps, have angst over this and how dare you. And I just, I can't take any of them seriously because look at your own map.
Yeah, the district's literally drawn around your neighbor's house. Don't fake outrage here.
It is. And when you have a district that starts at the Mississippi and snakes its way to the Chicago River almost, at least ours, lumps together counties and communities of like interest. So I don't buy that angst, the anger over why can you redistrict.
I mean, the mid cycle is kind of an issue.
It is, and I think there was some question about for Indiana, some of these other states is based on their constitution how legal it is, and
but again, are we when have we ever followed the Constitution? When have we ever followed our own law? I mean, again, I'm at the point where nothing is. It's always funny when people are surprised by things. It's like that surprises you? Where have you been?
And we're going to really, so you look at Indiana that has a Republican supermajority, and so you know how they're going to redistrict it. So my question is, why don't we then just have a discussion? So we're talking about this on the House side. Why don't we have a discussion about amending the 17th Amendment? For folks out there, for the longest time, senators were not elected by the people.
Right.
They were elected by the elected, appointed, however you want to talk about that, by the state legislatures. And so, I mean, that's how it was. And I think as soon as they introduced the fact that there was outside influence on those Senate races, now you've got this dark money that you were talking
Well, I
about.
was going to say, well, then who gets the money at that point? That's the big question. Who gets the dark money?
If we're going to go back to some of the foundings of it, and by that I mean part of the argument with redistricting is to say, look, we think the numbers have been skewed. We have several states that are counting illegal immigrants in their numbers unfairly, goosing the engine and giving themselves more congressional seats. And so, if we want to, I don't know.
Well, and again, that'll be an interesting discussion because I think Randy would be one of the people that would benefit. But it's interesting because Randy has been. I don't even want to speak for him, so it'll be interesting if you guys are going to have that discussion at 8:30, just to get his take on where things are at and how. I asked him point blank. I mean, how does this benefit you or does it not? So it'll be interesting to get his take on it. Joe, you said we got some calls. Why don't we take some calls before we take our break? So if we're ready, go ahead.
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, I can hear.
Dude, I can't hear anything.
Yeah.
I've tried literally.
I heard you scratching, so your microphone was on.
Well, I had the thing off, too. The on and off button, it was off, but I had to turn it
This
on
is the thing. Jed has spent this last week fixing things, so this is why things are not working. As things are worse than normal.
Yeah.
So at some point, I just need to bring a flamethrower to this place and go, no, we're starting from scratch.
I would not.
Yeah, because every time they fix one thing, something else breaks.
When we go to phone calls, if they hang up, can you just give me something
just give
so
you
I can press the button?
because you can't hear. Okay, cool. Yeah. Well, go ahead. Let's take some calls. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Good morning, Chuck and Bob.
How are you, sir? How are things in your world?
Nobody is above the law.
Okay.
I heard that through the media. Somebody had said that. Okay, a couple weeks ago, or I forgot when it was, Indiana Republican Senator Mike, I don't pronounce his name right, I'm not going to say it, was arrested in Michigan City. They had to let him go because while he's in session, they can't arrest a senator from Indiana, Republican. Okay? So now I'm a manager of the yard. I have a duty to open up that yard so I can go ahead and get plastered and drunk and go there, and the cops pull me, police officer, law enforcement pull me over. They can't arrest me because I have a duty to open up the job that I have.
So let's hit this.
Am I above the law?
Well, okay. Here's the problem, Mike. Here's the thing.
The politician.
You know who's above the law? The people who make the laws, Mike. Come on. Again, this is so. Let's read this. You sent this to me earlier. He wasn't arrested at the time. Under Indiana law, members of the General Assembly are shielded from arrest in most cases during the legislative session, a protection known as legislative immunity. Who gave the legislators legislative immunity? The legislators did. I mean, again, like, why is anybody shocked at any of these things? Like, it's insane. But again, like, even growing up here in the region, I've been on these airwaves. There's been so many DUIs among politicians here in the region that have been swept under the rug, that people have reached out and said, hey, this person got pulled over on Saturday night. Nobody ever talked about it again. They got snuck out the back door of the police station. People get pulled over, said, don't you know who I am? I know the mayor, all that kind of stuff. And then things get swept under the rug. People's DUIs get lost. So come on. Again, like, why is anybody shocked at any of this anymore? And again, this is what I said, Mike, when people around here were getting pulled over for DUIs and saying, don't you know who I am? I said, here's what's going to happen. Everybody is going to cover for them until they kill a family. And then everybody's going to go, oh, man, who could have seen this coming, right? And again, Bob, you're not part of that class. I don't think you've ever covered a DUI for anybody.
No,
but I'm saying that is something that happens regularly in the region. People get DUIs, people's chiefs of staff or their whoever, their brother-in-law, whoever, their friend, they get DUIs, they get swept under the rug, and then everybody just goes, oh, we don't know what happened.
I just want to interject here to this legislative immunity. This was maybe 10 years ago. And I got on the case of several of our legislators. They passed something, whatever they did, they waved their magic wand down in Indianapolis, where the legislators were allowed to conceal carry inside the State House because they were concerned with their personal safety. And as a state employee at the time, I said, well, I'm often in and out of the State House. Can I also do the same thing? If you're concerned about your safety, I also am concerned about my safety when we're in the same building. They said, oh, no, it's just for the legislators. I don't believe their staff are allowed. It's just them. So for some reason, they really are on a higher plane of existence than the rest of us because.
But then this article that Mike sent me, though, there's a whole long list of people that, again, legislators that got pulled over for DUIs, got into crashes, resisting law enforcement, misrepresenting themselves as state legislators, avoid arrest for public intoxication. I mean, again, you give the legislators this ability to give themselves legislative immunity under some sort of guide. I mean, did they say it was for the children? Who knows? So I can't be arrested mid-session. And multiple legislators have now gotten out of DUIs because of it. So it's, again, we this is the bed we made, guys. You don't act outraged. This is the bed we made. Nobody cares. This has happened 5 times now in the last 10 years. Nobody cares. It's, again, what are we going to do? And nobody's going to care until somebody kills somebody, right? I mean, that's the problem. Some legislators are going to kill a family and we're going to go, oh, we're all outraged. Okay, go ahead, Mike.
Can I, you were talking about that Commander restaurant. And then I finally realized that it's not closing. It's just taking new owners, right?
It is rebranding. But, I mean, as far as it is not closing, you're right. So it is rebranding. It will still be open. I don't know as far as if the lemon rice soup will be there, but to me, it's sort of, again, part of the region going away. The Commander Restaurant, the name, and just sort of. I
had a bad experience there. My wife used to like me to go there and get her a breakfast, and I had a bad experience there. And ever since that day, I never walked back into that place because simple reason. I went in there a little bit after they opened in the morning to order my wife's breakfast to go. I'm sitting there waiting and waiting. The owners are sitting there doing their tallies of their tabs and stuff. This waitress walked past me 3 to 4 times, but a regular person that they like comes walking in, and she goes right away and takes their order. I get up and I told the owner, I says, goodbye, I'll go somewhere else. He says, well, wait a minute. I says, no, I was here 5 frickin' minutes or more, and she walks past me 3 or 4 times. I says, no, I'll never come back in your doors again.
Well, and again, I understand that, but again, also, I was there, I had to go. I went in there one night, and they had already closed because they were so they were so packed. When I was there on Saturday, it was absolutely packed, and people were frustrated they couldn't get a seat. So again, they were complete. Remember, here's one of the things to remember, Mike. Restaurants and places like that are terribly short-staffed right now. They're having trouble keeping people, and we can go down the rabbit hole of why that is, what's going on. But I mean, the reality is just a lot of places are short-staffed, and that's sort of just it's unfortunate that somebody they saw a friend of theirs and talked to them first before you. So I get it. But also, we got to be a little. I told everybody that was going to Commander this weekend. I said, be patient. It's packed in there. It's crazy. They're running around like crazy. They're sure-handed. Everybody said, if you're going to go, don't think that you're going to get a seat right away and you're going to get your food in 5 minutes. So I prepped my family.
One more. I'm going to let you go because I'll let you guys. You got a bunch to do. But I'm watching you guys on that YouTube live, and you have a live chat where you could make a comment. I try to click on it, and I can't make no comments on there. What am I doing wrong?
You have to you have to log into YouTube, and I think you might also have to subscribe to the channel. So you may not be logged in, but
I think
it's nice seeing you both. And
I think you do have to be logged in.
You have to
as a
I don't know.
as a person.
Yeah, but also I think it would be fun. You know what we should do? We should put the chat down here on the screen. We have real-time chat.
We can do
You
that.
could watch that. So,
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I think you just have to log in.
How do we
You
look?
know, you guys look good. You know, I like the costumes you're getting prepared for Halloween. You know, you guys look good in your costumes.
Oh, he means them. I thought he meant us. I'm like, this is not my costume. This is my normal outfit.
No, you too.
Okay.
I'm looking at two people on the screen, and I'm thinking, man, Halloween's just around the corner. You guys getting
I'm going as a
costumes on
fat
early?
scarecrow.
Hey, I'm going to let you guys go. Everybody on the station, staff, people, everybody out there, just have a wonderful, safe day, and be careful and be safe.
Thanks, Mike. I'm glad you're doing well. Nice to hear from you. Thanks for that story.
Yep.
Okay, so Joe, go ahead. You can't hear me, so go ahead and hang up on Mike. We got another caller? No? Okay, so why don't we take our break, and we'll come back, and we'll do some more after this. So take your time. Go ahead. Phil, why don't you give me a thumbs up when you got – Jed decided we're going to fix the way we do breaks, which makes it 10 times harder for Joe, but that's how it works around here. So just give me a thumbs up when you're ready to go to break, and I'll just keep talking. Okay, so we'll be right back after this.
Maybe.
Just don't talk for a while, because I don't know.
For 140 years, the Central Midwest Carpenters have built our communities in Northwest Indiana. Are you ready to join the effort? We have long-term work, competitive pay, and the best benefits in the industry. We pride ourselves on innovative training and commitment to worksite safety. Earn as you learn as an apprentice. A solid career built on a solid legacy. For more info, go to carpenters.com.
Have you ever considered becoming an iron worker? Local 395 is now accepting applications for their apprenticeship program. Go to ironworkers395.com. Look under the training section, click on apprenticeship, and scroll down to the application. You must be 18 years old, have a high school diploma or GED, and you must be physically able to perform the work of the trade. Find out more by calling the apprenticeship school in Lake Station at 219-962-7675 or visit ironworkers395.com.
Tired of that cracked driveway? Dreaming of a new patio or need a concrete partner for your next big project? Call RNC Concrete Construction, family owned with 30 plus years serving Northwest Indiana. From residential driveways to stamped patios and commercial foundations, we pour with pride and deliver lasting quality. Call today for your free estimate at 219-779-9370. That's 219-779-9370. RNC Concrete, where your concrete vision comes to life.
Siri, read me that text.
Sorry, I can't complete your request.
You want me to read that?
No, I got it.
Construction zone.
I see it.
Watch it. Oh my God. You're gonna hit him!
Oh, fuck!
When driving in a construction zone, be smart, be alert, be in the zone.
This is Brian Short, business manager for the Indiana Laborers District Council. Everyone deserves a safe place to work. Do your part in the cone zone. Slow down, save lives. We're all in this together.
A message from Indiana's District Council of Laborers International Union of North America and affiliated locals.
Do you want to get a vaccine, but it's difficult to get to your healthcare provider? Call the folks at Right Care Pharmacy. They'll come to your home, discuss your vaccination status with you, and administer the appropriate vaccine with expertise. They offer vaccines for flu, shingles, pneumonia, hepatitis A and B, TDAP, RSV, and COVID. They've been serving the Lake and Porter County community for over 11 years and are fluent in Spanish. Call Right Care Pharmacy at 219-655-5028.
Introducing Powers Health.
6:50 here in the region. We've got a few minutes until 7 o'clock. My old friend Chris Spangle is going to call in. That'll be.
Is he an old friend or is he an old friend?
He's both. Can he be both? And is he an old friend of yours too?
I've known him for quite a while. I would say we're acquaintances. I think occasionally we get tagged in similar things on the interwebs, but I don't know him that well.
Well, you'll know him well enough to argue with him when we get
certainly.
done with this.
I don't need to know
so
you.
Just
to
making
argue
sure.
with you.
Okay, so let's spend the next few minutes talking about. I guess the government's still shut down. I haven't really noticed, but you said we're on day 27.
Yeah, 26, 27. And if they're still collecting taxes, they're not shut down.
Right, I was going to say, well,
they're
that's
just withholding services.
The IRS is the only thing that's still open. But so let's hit a few issues that have come up over the weekend. So here's the first one. The Treasury Secretary says that the U.S. won't be able to pay the military by November 15th. So basically said Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent said that Sunday that service members will miss their paychecks by November 15th if the government shutdown stretches on, despite Trump administration's previous assurances that members of the military will be paid amid the funding lapse. Now, I had heard some story about some guy came forward and wrote a check for the military, and I say, well, if you're that wealthy, you're already writing a check for the pay for the military, but now you're just writing it directly to them.
Yes.
So President Trump directed the Pentagon to use unspent research and development funds to pay the military, with about $8 billion in funds from previous fiscal year identified to cover the mid-month paychecks, but they warned that was a temporary fix. So
they have so much money that when they tell you they don't have money,
they find $8 billion.
They use their other money. Yes.
We find we're broke. We just found $8 billion, but we'll use that.
Yeah, they're using Kohl's cash.
So also,
pay.
But on a more serious note, there is an issue that is shaping up with the SNAP program.
Yeah.
We're looking at SNAP benefits are look to start halting. That's not how you write that, Time Magazine. So we're looking at an end to SNAP benefits on November 1st. Which will be the 1 month anniversary of the government shutdown. So basically, let's see here. So the SNAP funds, the U.S. Department of Agriculture has informed all states that there may be insufficient funds to pay November benefits through the federal SNAP program. So essentially, I guess that money filters down from the feds to your local government, et cetera, et cetera.
It comes from, I think,
USDA. Yeah.
But here's what's funny. And Chuck, I know that you'll say, well, all taxes, all government's bad. And I get
no,
that.
Not all of it.
But here's,
most of it.
Isn't it funny
98% of it.
When we run out of money or we run up against these walls, it is soldiers' pay and SNAP benefits that are the ones
and for the children, the soldiers and the children,
and not like I said, we're finding mysterious pots of money, R&D money that we can pay our soldiers with, but. And I think that's where some of just the general eye rolling of government in general comes from, because, and yes, government money is not like your home budget. There's different silos of money. We get all those things, but really that's and of course that's where it goes. If you're going to be a cynic, that's where they start military pay and SNAP money, because they want the people to hurt. So then the people call their legislators to express their concern, and that's how my tinfoil hat says that they try to get the ball moving. But really, that's what you're going to go, and you're going to cut SNAP benefits, second after military pay. Come on, we're 38 trillion. Is that
we just hit $38 trillion in debt?
You guys trip over the money that goes to SNAP. The federal government trips over to do one of their special projects. So it's, if anything, I would suggest folks be mad at them for using you, almost more than
and also
them taking your SNAP money.
I have a friend, for instance, that works at the FAA. He's been through, I think, 3 or 4 government shutdowns at this point. I feel bad for him. I know him. It's like, yeah, you're not getting a paycheck, and I said, The people I work for have always given me a paycheck. So you have to start questioning, who you work for at that point. And I said, this wouldn't happen if you were privatized, which of course upsets him. But That's the reality. Like if you worked for a private agency that was running the FAA or the TSA or what have you, you wouldn't have to worry about this because, they've proven time and time again, and kudos to him and everybody else that continues to work for the federal government after they've not paid you, 3 or 4 times now. But it's a frustrating thing, and I understand that there are families that are hurting from this. There was video the other day of federal employees in like Virginia in getting in lines for food and stuff like that. And again, there are people that are hurting from this, but also you should be coming out of this. These are the same people. That same group are the ones that inherently support big government, right? They're always the ones they're voting for bigger government to increase the size of their agencies. It's like at some point you have to go, look, you're creating this issue by allowing your agencies to just keep growing out of control. Government just keeps growing and outpacing, as we talked about earlier with Wall, they're outpacing GDP. Government knows how to, it just grows. It just grows and it gets more expensive or we get into more debt. And so that's sort of the inherent issue is that the Washington establishment, the ones that are not getting their checks today are also the ones that are kind of responsible for letting these agencies get as large as they have. So, Joe, do you say we want to take some calls? Go ahead. Let's take a call. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Good morning.
Good morning. How are you, sir?
How you all doing?
Good.
Couldn't be better.
You're talking about. I'm doing good, but I'm concerned about the people who need food. These food banks, they're really going out trying to feed people right now during the shutdown. And here we have another guy trying to blow up every boat come across, say, because they got drugs. Do they know, and I think you all know what I'm talking, do they know if there was drugs there? Maybe there was some people just trying to get over here to the country, which they could get around, and they could get around that boat that's in and capture it and see, you know what I'm talking about. The president say he's gonna kill more. He's gonna kill more at sea. What they doing, they done blew up some boats and killed a total of 43 people, I believe. And he said, I'm gonna kill some more. Well, why? Do you think he has any evidence? What is our legislators doing in Washington? Are they saying, look at you, you just shouldn't be doing that. Why don't you just put them on? And I agree, if they on there and they might find one isolated case where there was some drugs, but the majority of those things, I never heard them say that they had that we blew them up. They had drugs on that thing.
So here's I want to ask you this question. So I know you follow politics. So
big time.
Going all the way back to the Bush administration. We have had.
I don't want to go there. That's what Trump is saying. Well, Bush didn't do it. Obama did. I mean, what is he doing? Okay, but go ahead. I'm gonna let you go ahead.
So no, I'm asking. Like this is something that both sides. And again, if you know the story, you can go look up the story about under the Obama administration. They called it a drone strike. They blew up an entire wedding in Yemen on the off chance 2 people from the Al Qaeda were there. Under the Obama administration, he killed several journalists, an American citizen. Under both sides have used these drones going back to Bush.
Okay, and it was wrong, and I said it was wrong then.
And so here, let me just say something. Here's the thing.
Okay.
Rand Paul, who I'm a big fan of, about 10 years ago did a 10-hour filibuster specifically to question how we are using drones in warfare and the idea of using drones for drug interaction, for drug interdictions, using it on American soil. So 10 years ago, Rand Paul filibuster for 10 hours said, I want that, and this was under the, I forget which administration that would have been, under the Obama administration, I believe, and he said, I want to know what the rules of engagement are for these drones. And both parties, once again, chided him and pushed him aside and ignored this that Rand Paul brought up 10 years ago. How and when can we use drones? And both sides ignored his pleas about this. And now we're at that day. We're now the other day, I think Trump said he wants to start using drones to blow up cocaine factories and things like that. I mean, again, that becomes the problem. And when you have this goes back to the DUI our discussion we just had earlier. When you let government do these things, they're going to do it, and you can't act shocked about it.
Yeah. Now let me just say this, and I respect you guys. You guys, I got some good opinions, and I respect everybody's opinion. Everybody has a right to say, but I'm just simply saying that I'm not going to say, if I'm the president of the United States, I'm not going to say, well, I don't know what this guy did. I don't know what the Democrat or Republican. I want him to say, well, I want to fix it. Everything that he does, it seems to be personal. I did this, and this has never been done before. Well, we understand it's never been done before. If whatever Obama did, it was wrong, okay? And he should be pointing out his predecessor. That's what we have in right now. The same thing with this wing, they tore down this wing, east wing of the White House, tore it down. And it's like, and I bet you he's going to attach his name to it once it's rebuilt. So, this kind of stuff, why don't he just be president, man?
What do you think about the idea of there are prominent Democrats that are saying if he builds this ballroom, they want to tear it down when they take back control?
Well, that would be wrong.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Again, that's a silly thing.
No, you're not going to catch me up in that.
No, I'm just asking because, again, it's silly that's the game's. Imagine a scenario where every 4 years we're tearing down and rebuilding the White House.
4 years.
I don't believe the Democrats or any crat would be that stupid to say let's tear it down.
No, I'm just saying. That's the politics that I'm hearing
right now.
People
We're
play.
spending. We're spending what is it, $400 billion to this other country, and
40 billion to Argentina. Is that?
Yeah. Yes. I mean, what is wrong with us? And here, does America? If you love America, why would you be doing that? We got people right now the government is shut down, and you sending the money out like that.
I don't
100% agree.
I don't disagree with you, but I completely agree with you. The optics of building a ballroom in the middle of a government shutdown do not look good. And I mean, if you're going to criticize.
That's the only thing I'm saying, and I don't want people to be saying, "Well, he doesn't like Trump." I don't like the policies. Okay, I don't dislike anybody. Sometimes I dislike their policies, and I don't like what's going on. It seems to me like he's so busy. Well, I got so many people who did me wrong, so I'm gonna go after them. I'm gonna send the FBI. I'm sending all these people. He put these people there. I'm just saying, how long are we going to continue to drink the Kool-Aid?
Forever. This is never going to end, Ron. This is not going to end with Trump. This is not going to end with J.D. Vance or Kamala wanting to run again or Gavin Newsom announced his intentions to run. This is not going to end because the same players are playing the game. Neither side are basically clearing the bench and bringing in new people. You know what I mean? This is a continuation of what's been happening. So I don't expect anything to change.
Now, I'm going to show you. If he's a Christian man, Joe Biden is sick, okay?
He is, you're right.
Why would you keep picking at this man? This man is near death. He's not going to run again. Why would just Joe Biden? I would think he would say, hey, whatever we could do and pray for Joe Biden if he's a Christian man. I'm a churchgoer Christian, I wouldn't do stuff like that. It's just terrible right now. And what I'm saying right now, there you go. And then they say, well, what about Johnson in Chicago? What the hell does that got to do with what's happening in Washington? And right now, like I said, it's getting right now. And if he keep blowing up these things right now, these boats coming across, we might be headed toward another war. And he'll say, I just kill all of them. That's what he'll use that term. He doesn't talk like a president to me.
Okay, so Ron, I appreciate that. When you get a chance, go to YouTube, watch the Chris Harden videos about Gary. I want to get your opinion, what you think of it.
I don't want to hear anything about Gary because I know it's not nice.
No, okay? Actually, this is a very
I do have
fair
to say,
and in-depth look. And Gary residents are in the video. It's not salacious. I told him from the beginning. I said, you come to Gary, you interview Gary people, and talk about Gary, and that's what he did.
You know what? I think I was in one of those interviews.
You were in the one with Peter Santinello from last year.
Yeah.
This is.
I'm gonna tell you. Let me tell you that. I'm glad you brought that up. I was walking down the street there, and I tell you where I was. I'm gonna be very honest with you. I was at Kamala Harris headquarters. And so I seen those guys walking with these backpacks, and we having a problem with them with this graffiti and stuff like this. Coming in, and I'm really upset about that too. So he was walking down there, and everybody seen it from me on YouTube, I guess. And they said a guy seen me one night, and he said, "I seen you. I seen your thing." I said, "What do you mean?" He said, "You." So I questioned him. I said, "What do you have there?" He said, "We're doing a little story on Gary, Indiana." I said, "Really?" I said, "Oh, okay. Where are you going?" He said, "Well, we're going." I said, "Are you going? Why don't you take a Gary's has about 85% of beautiful homes like my home costs about 3 times what I paid for it. I could get $340,000 for it right now. I've only paid about 150 20 years ago. So I said, why don't you come to those neighborhoods? Well, no, we get paid to do this. I said, you get paid to do this? He said, we get paid. I said, what about these markets you got in there? It's terrible. That's one reason why I said I stopped the guy because he was going down there, and somebody said, well, why don't you let him go? They're going to do that what they want to do anyway. And we're offended by that when you come into our community. We want you to, when you come in here, say some nice things about that.
No, and that's what Chris Harden did. He talked to Gary residents, but we do have to take a break because I got my guest waiting. But yeah, seriously, trust me on this one.
I don't mean this to disparage the guy, but I say surprisingly fair. But it is
surprisingly fair because we don't see a lot. It is very authentic. So watch it. I want to get your feedback on it.
It is surprisingly nice. Okay,
it actually, there's a lot of Gary facts in there I didn't know. So there's a lot of stuff in there that I didn't know, and he's still got a few more pieces coming out in the next couple of weeks. So check it out. We got to take a break. Yeah. If you're on the phones, call back in a half hour. We got to take our guest here in a few minutes.
Okay. All right.
So I appreciate it, Ron. Go ahead. Joe, go ahead and hit the button. It is 7:07 in the region. You're listening to AM 1230, 104.7 FM, beautiful Hammond, Indiana. We'll be back with Chris Bengal after this. Hey, it is 7:10 in the region. We've got our guest holding on. So I want to take a very quick look at traffic and weather. Things here in the region looking good for a Monday morning. Not much to report at the moment. You've got the usual slowdown. The Dan Ryan getting a little heavy. Bishop Ford's still looking good. Dan Ryan a little heavy heading into downtown. 294 is looking good around the city. Everything else looking good. But, of course, if you see something, you know the number, 219-845-1100. Joe, just tell us the weather's nice, and then we'll get to our guest. Just say the weather's nice. Do you have your headset? That's fine. The weather's nice this week. Nice. The weather's nice. It's going to be an abundance of weather. And we're going to have a nice Halloween.
The windies are out
there's
there.
There's no wind chill. There's no UVs. It's just a beautiful week of weather here in the region. So why don't we jump in, see if we can hear our Zoom guests. Go ahead, bring them in. Chris, can you hear me? Go ahead, bring them up. Let's see if we can hear him.
Hear me.
You hear him? I can't hear him. Chris, can you hear us?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
I
and
can.
They'll hear all of us.
I can hear. We can hear each other. Go ahead, put him on the screen. Let's see him. Is that working too?
Look at that handsome man.
That's a real studio. See, that's a real studio.
Look at that. We need brick here at our studio.
We need bricks and ferns. That's what we're missing here in the region.
This is a podcast studio.
Bring him up.
In Indianapolis, Indiana. Can you hear me now?
No, I can hear you. We're just going to bring you up a little bit. So
this producer is very handsome, but he's scrambling. He's sweating. I started out as a radio show producer. I know the feeling. He's got the intense stare in his eye.
So that's Joe, and Joe is doing the work of like 3 people. So he's producing the video, the audio, rolling breaks, and we have this constant argument with the station owner about the ergonomics of being a producer. You can't be flying across the room on a chair all day long. You need to have everything lined up.
Yeah, well, God forbid any of the on-air talent do anything.
Well, I'm more than willing to do that.
Look at me. I mean, I'm here. Yeah. I mean, you expect me to get up? Come on.
As a 15-year veteran of radio producer land, the on-air talent is it's a very cushy job, people. No wonder Bob Starkey wanted to do it.
Hey, did you just hear me? I just did traffic and weather. I said everything's great on the roads. I said the weather's great. Everything was fantastic. I mean, it
was much more professional than I expected.
Well, thank you. That's all I wanted to hear, really. So
that is the first and only time those words will ever be uttered.
That's kind of like my other producer. He says this is the second favorite show, and then we realize she only produces 2 shows. So, but okay. So Chris Bengal, tell people about you. What do you do?
So I am a podcaster on the Chris Spangle Show, run the We Are Libertarians podcast network. I have been in radio for 20 years. I guess I'm sort of not in radio anymore. I was with the Bob and Tom Show for 11 years. I work at a local newspaper here in Indianapolis now as their head of podcasting. And I am a libertarian frozen in time. I am a 2009 libertarian, and I'm not changing.
Okay, so that's where I want to. We're jumping right in with that. So, you and I have been having these complicated debates about some of these issues. So I don't know.
You complicated. I'm right and you're wrong.
Well, that's why it's complicated. So we've been talking all morning to our different. We have a nice cavalcade of callers on the left and on the right, and so like for instance, our last caller just called to tell us that President Trump is indiscriminately blowing up boats. Some of them may have drugs, most of them don't. And so in his perspective, the president is just indiscriminately drone striking fishing boats, and that's what's happening. So, I mean, like when I hear that, I immediately explained to him that indiscriminate drone strikes go back past the Obama administration, the Bush administration. This is nothing new. And this is something that I keep asking Chris Spangle for the last couple of weeks. I ask him the question, why now? Why are people paying attention now when people like he and I have been talking about this for years? So I guess that's where I want to start off, Chris. Why do you think people are paying attention now more than ever?
Well, I mean, you could say, well, why are Republicans not paying attention to certain things like the debt, for instance, right? It's basic tribalism. Abdul, who I produced for, Abdul Hakim Shabazz here in Indy, in 2004, used to have a saying that over the 4 years that I produced his morning show in local radio, he would say, well, what else is new? Walk across, put down your sign, walk across the street, pick up the other guy's sign, and start protesting that other side. Like, if you're looking for consistency in American politics, you're not going to find it. We're entering the 250th year celebrating the Declaration of Independence, where all men are created equal, penned by a man who owned other people. So hypocrisy is like baked into the cake of American politics. Right. Like, it's just part of it. And so what I always talk about on the Chris Spangle Show is that you have to go back to principles. Like, when things are very confusing and very overwhelming, you have to really get in touch with what you believe. And for me as a libertarian, I look at everything through the lens of power. Who has power? Why do they have power? How are they using power? What's the end goal of them having power? And that usually puts you on a very consistent side, like Rand Paul on this particular issue is very consistent. You have to have due process. You can't just say, if you're the president of the United States, I have whatever power I want to have. I can just indiscriminately kill whoever I want to kill. I should have this power. And it doesn't matter if he has an R or a D next to his name. You don't get the right to attack another country or their people without congressional approval. That's written into the Constitution, but this is just an ongoing feature of American politics in the last 30 years in that the executive branch is centralizing as much power as possible. And at a certain point where we have to put a stop to it, or else we're not going to have the power to put a stop to it.
So, and it was funny because I actually brought up Rand Paul. I said to the caller, I said, you know that Rand Paul filibustered for 10 hours about 10 years ago to talk about this very issue, about the use of drones, specifically on American soil, but using drones in this capacity. And the problem was, at the time, 10 years ago, who was paying attention to Rand Paul? People like you and I, the libertarians, were paying close attention because we knew this would be an issue, and everybody else kind of ignored Rand Paul. And now today, once again, why now, 10 years later, now people are paying attention to what they consider the president drone striking indiscriminately, fishing boats, even though I just brought up the fact that President Obama blew up an entire wedding in Yemen, and et cetera, et cetera. So again, that becomes what I don't understand right now.
So what are you mad about? Are you mad about Democrats finally getting it right?
Well, so going back to your principles, though, you're saying, what are the principles? Are we going to finally see a scenario? And this is what I say, Chris, you remember like even during COVID. So we had libertarians, we were protesting outside the governor's mansion, and who was there with us? We had, Trump supporters with their pickup trucks surrounding the governor's mansion, Hunker Down Holcomb, and things like that. The question becomes, where are the principles to say when, and this is what I always go back to, if you want government to have less power, the only time you can do that is when your party is in power. I'll use a perfect example. One of our other callers earlier today was talking about these DUIs and legislative immunity. So he was talking about this, the DUI that's come out, and let me pull it up real quick. So we were just talking about the legislative immunity that, and again, you had 4 or 5 different legislators here in the state that have gotten DUIs in the last few years because they have this immunity. And so again, same idea. Why are you surprised that if legislators give themselves legislative immunity, that they go and commit DUIs because they know they can get away with it? So again, it's that same idea of when you have the power, that is the time to say, hey, maybe we should have less power. And that's the problem. It never happens. Like you said, a nation formed by hypocrisy. So that becomes the question is, are these people that were protesting, the No Kings protesters, are they going to continue to protest the power when Democrats get it back? No, of course not. The Republicans will take to the streets, and so it goes.
That you can say that. I don't know that you can say that for certain because you and I both have probably changed and evolved. I mean, I supported Bush. I was in 2005, 2004, college Republicans chair, supported the Iraq War wholly and heartily. I planned a pro-war rally on the Friday after Thanksgiving in 2003. And then over the course of the 2000s evolved to a very anti-war position. And I think part of it is that you are exposed to other ideas. You're exposed. And this is where I find it a bit frustrating and a little bit of a trick in order to give Trump an out in terms of his violations of the centralization of power, to say, why now? Why are these Democrats doing the right thing now? Well, why don't we get engaged with the people who are finally saying, hey, maybe centralized power is the wrong thing, and start leading them to a more libertarian position? Because that's what happened with the right wing. That's what happened with Trump's MAGA movement, is they became more anti-war. Back in the day when I knew War Crimes Bob Starkey, I mean, he was probably super hard pro-war, pro-death of anyone, firing as many bombs as possible. But then he fell in with libertarians like you and I and heard maybe we should have these things, this things. Maybe I was being propagandized by these things. And I think when you constantly, not you, but the royal you, as the right wing constantly want to put a thumb on Democrats and liberals, they stop listening to you. and they stop seeing a point of view. Whereas if you talk to the other side like they're people with malleable opinions who can see other things as opposed to like some leftist Borg that you're going to be assimilated into, as opposed to a group of people that can have their minds changed, you're going to lose. Like, you're going to just drive those people into the arms of AOC, Bernie Sanders, and other people.
And Mamdani, and they all got together and met in New York over the weekend to have a big rally.
I think we are far more likely and I'm a creature of the right. No matter, I mean, you can watch my Facebook page, call me woke, whatever you want, but I am Republican adjacent. I always will be, much to the chagrin of my friends that I have on the left. But I've had a lot of success over the last half a decade talking to people on the left about libertarian views and about the nature of power. And they're with us in a lot of different avenues. It's just that they feel so threatened by the other side that they don't really trust that less power could be possible. And you certainly see that on the right. We're now in a situation where nobody wants to talk to each other, so everybody's fighting for the gun to put it to the head of the other guy so they don't get their brains blown out. And that's a very dangerous situation for a country.
Okay, so I wanted to read, I found this tweet, because this is exactly kind of my take on this, is "No kings," they shouted as they begged their government to take control of their healthcare, retirement, finances, and their children's education. So, I mean, this becomes the question, is this a no kings protest, or is this a not your king's protest? I mean, and that's sort of the argument. I understand where you're saying this idea of this is the time where libertarians and the left can come together. But the reality is, like I just said, AOC and Bernie were with Mamdani over the weekend rallying for, what he wants to do to New York, which is, frankly, more government grocery stores and more government influence. So they're not protesting no kings, they're protesting not your kings, right? So, I mean, that becomes the question is you're asking these people to go from a scenario where they're trying to trade one type of authority for another and saying, look, you don't need authority at all. You don't need any kings. And that's sort of where I'm at with this is I was talking earlier with one of our other callers. We were talking about the idea of, I'm looking for grievances here. I'm looking for an organized list of grievances from these people. And one of the things I was saying earlier is imagine, going back to like Martin Luther, if he had, been wearing a giant inflatable dinosaur costume while he was nailing his 95 grievances to the church door, or Franklin when he was presenting the grievances to the king. Like, this is the problem that I'm having with the left, is that they don't have any sort of organized. It's just sort of like they're screaming all these, we called it sort of the hobo chili stew of grievances. They don't really have anything organized. Where, how do you fix a problem if you can't tell me what it is? And that's where I'm at with this.
Well, the inflatable costumes, that comes from the protesters. And I wish I could remember the name of the book. Dandelion Insurrection is popping in my mind, but I'm not sure if that's it. But like the protesters against the power grab of Milosevic in the 90s, he was toppled by a group of protesters who used comedy and absurdity to highlight the power grab, but also how like weak and performative that was. And so, like, we can look at the people in inflatable costumes, but it has a purpose. Like, you're pepper spraying somebody in a frog costume, and it's got a very distinct purpose. But to go to the No Kings rally, you are conveniently ignoring that Donald Trump is doing everything possible to centralize power. And this is the problem with the right. Like you're saying, if you want to reduce the size and scope of government, you've got to do it while your side's in power. And if you lean right, you should be disturbed by the way that Donald Trump conducts his government. He views the government as his property, and he views the people that lives inside of it as his property. And if Barack Obama and Joe Biden and Hillary Clinton and all the rest also viewed it that way, it doesn't mean that two wrongs make a right. It means that you should rightly look at Donald Trump as a threat to your self-government, to your sovereignty as a United States citizen. And to give up the fight against the centralization of power is un-American. And as we move into the 250th anniversary of the founding of the Declaration of Independence, we should embrace the natural rights tradition. We should embrace self-government. We should embrace limited government and the federal system where the federal government doesn't have all the power, and that the president doesn't view his role as a person who should take on the media, the universities, the military, and anyone that can really check his power, any institution that has the ability to thwart the centralization of federal power. That should be disturbing, and that's really what it comes down to with the No Kings protests. You can throw it into policies, and yes, I agree with you, and yes, let's all go towards Mamdani because he's well spoken. Meanwhile, he's going to bankrupt the city of New York like Dinkins did, the other DSA candidate that won. But the fact of the matter is that the No Kings protest is really protesting the approach to government that Donald Trump has. He thinks he can tear down the East Wing of the White House without having the National Capital Planning Commission approve it like every other president did. It's his house. He owns it. Well, no, that's not the case. You don't own federal property. You're a guest, and you're there to preserve it. You're there to steward it. And Donald Trump doesn't look at anything from the lens of stewardship, as many other government officials in the past have. You and I can argue that, but you know why Donald Trump is special. That's why most people love Donald Trump on the right, because he is a person that pokes and prods and puts his finger in the eye of the people that you don't like. That's not a good way to govern. It's not a way that is going to win for libertarianism or conservatism. It's only going to serve to make the likelihood of AOC and Mamdani having power more likely because of backlash. In American politics, there is always a backlash to every action that is taken. And there's always a pendulum that swings. And the harder you go right, the further they'll go left. And neither side is making us more free. And I don't find any reason that we ought to be making excuses for Donald Trump.
Okay, so I also use the pendulum analogy quite a bit. And what I'm starting to see, though, is I imagine this scenario where I almost see the pendulum, instead of swinging back and forth as it tends to do in this country, I'm almost seeing a scenario where the pendulum is just going to sort of break in half, and half's going to go right and half's going to go left. And you're right, Mamdani is a perfect example of that. The AOC, the Bernie, that whole group in New York is a perfect example of that. But also the idea that, Gavin Newsom has his intentions on the White House, J.B. Pritzker has his sights set on the White House, and so neither one of those guys are going to work with President Trump on anything sort of cohesive to figure out a plan, when it comes to dealing with ICE in their states or anything like that. So this becomes the inherent thing is what I ask someone like you that's been paying attention for all these years, why are we shocked that Trump is doing what he's doing? And this is my point. Earlier today, I was talking about the debt. We're talking about the idea that, the last time that we're going to see anybody even attempt to address the debt was Elon Musk, and people literally burned down his cars and his dealerships for trying to rein in spending. And so this idea that there's any real effort to rein in the debt, or even the idea that Rand Paul got very little traction when he ran for president. The idea is these people do not want a Rand Paul. These people do not want an Elon Musk to come in and rein in government spending. Both sides want this unbridled spending, and they also want their version of king. So again, all these people that are outraged by Trump, I said, well, good news. The next guy is probably going to be worse, whether he's on the left or the right. So that becomes the inherent question is, for those of us that have been paying attention for all of these years, why are you surprised? But then also that becomes the question of, do you really believe? Like, for instance, we've been talking back and forth about the ballroom and Trump's third term. I mean, is that the next phase of this? Is you're going to have a president, whether it's Trump or the next guy, going, you know what, I'm not leaving. I mean, is that where we're headed? Is that what's going to eventually, set things off? I don't know. And so that's kind of the question. I mean, do you really think that Trump is not going to leave?
Yeah, 100% he's not going to leave. He tried not to leave last time. Remember the Kraken and the 128 lawsuits that were filed, that he filed saying, well, the election was stolen, and then he had no evidence of it. Like, Donald Trump has already tried not to leave. He claimed the 2016 election was rigged. Like, Donald Trump's entire, you want to argue why now? Like, read history. Go read about Duterte in the Philippines. Like, he rode to power on the extrajudicial killings of drug dealers. And what happened in the country is that it evolved to people killing their neighbor because they just claimed they were drug dealers, and they didn't have to go through the process of actually having formal charges and due process And so you ended up with basically a reversion to what we had in tribal killings in England, which led to the development of the rule of law under King Alfred. So the right talks a lot about preserving Western culture and Western civilization, but Western civilization is the rule of law. It is that the person that wakes up that has the biggest gun doesn't get to rule over other people. The system of checks and balances rule over the whims of people that want to centralize power. I don't think any Republican with an honest, straight face can look at Donald Trump's presidencies and say that he hasn't done these things to an order of magnitude over what Democratic politicians have done. That's part of why you like him. Just be honest about it. And so, yes, you're right. We're now in a position where if you listen to Steve Bannon, who I think is a very credible person in terms of how his movement thinks, like the MAGA movement is not a libertarian movement. They're not trying to preserve the natural rights tradition. They're not trying to make government smaller. They're trying to maintain power because what they understand is exactly what you're saying. And so if somebody's going to have permanent power and lock up the other side, it might as well be us. And I'm not going to be the one to advocate for that system. I don't care if it makes me unpopular. I don't care if it makes me get called a lib by you on Facebook. It doesn't matter to me because you're not going to have in 50 years my great-grandchildren look back and say, I argued for the breaking of the Constitution and the breaking of the American system. It doesn't matter which side wins. And I think people have to start waking up and having a duty to the American Constitution and an awareness that they're arguing for the breaking of the entire system. And we end up in a banana republic where no matter who wins, the other side goes to jail. And guess what? We live in a much poorer, worse country. Like if you listen to my show and you listen to the series of immigrants that I talked to over this past summer, they moved here because of the abundance of choice, the freedom to choose where you go to school, the freedom to say what you want without persecution, the economic opportunity that we have because we're not burdened by socialism. Most of them are from South America, and they support Donald Trump over the left because they saw how socialists destroyed their country, but they're also alarmed at the movement of the right towards fascism. And so you can change culture by advocating for what's right. Even if you're unpopular, if you were during COVID and you were saying, look, maybe the public health system isn't right, and maybe this shot isn't going to solve COVID, and maybe we should be skeptical about these things. You weren't popular, but you were born out right. And the same thing has to start applying to government power. You have to start fighting power where it is centralized and when it has power over you. Because if you don't, you're not going to have the ability to do that for very long. It doesn't matter which side wins.
Okay, so we're gonna let you go in a minute. Callers, if you guys want to call in, you get your say on this. Bob, if you want to respond, you have the official Republican response to what Chris had to say. But I do want to ask Chris one question before he goes then. Okay, so we have this scenario that you believe is playing out where Trump is not going to leave. Now, obviously, last time, there was this discussion about votes and 2 a.m. votes and dead people voting, all these things. What is going to be his excuse for not leaving? And if he does refuse to leave, what do you expect sort of the Republican response is going to be? And again, we can even roll that into what's happening right now in Indianapolis with the idea of, we've got Trump pressuring our governor to, do this redistricting and things like this. Do the Republicans fold? What happens when he refuses to leave?
I mean, a decade of Republicans folding tells you they're going to fold.
Right.
Like, I don't expect backbone from Republicans at this point. Like, it's the craziest thing to me.
How do they justify it is my point, though. How do they justify not letting him not leave?
It doesn't matter how they justify it. If you look at, like, Diego Morales, our Secretary of State here in Indiana, just put out he did a study trying to find illegal immigrants that voted illegally in Indiana, and he found like one. And so it doesn't matter what the truth is. If you can propagandize your way through and just assert that you're right, and then it gives a permission structure to your side to say, yeah, that's the truth. I believe this version of the truth. Like, we already saw it. He already said that the election was stolen from him in 2020, and he has no evidence to back that up. And yet the majority of Republicans believe that. And you see in the Indiana General Assembly, the fear of losing power is why most of these guys are being silent. And I am so fed up with these. I can't curse because we're on radio.
Yeah, we're on real radio. Yeah.
I'm so tired of Republicans privately saying how they're concerned about this and that, and then never going on the public record. Like, at least have some respect for Jim Lucas, who says, yeah, I'm not doing this. This is a power grab from DC to force the state. And then he goes, never mind, I'm changing my mind. Like, at least that guy is saying it out loud so we can judge him as a flip-flopper for all time. But like, this redistricting thing it's cheating. Everybody knows it's cheating. You want to put whatever facade you want on it and repeat it so Bob Starkey can get on radio and repeat it from the Republican side. And then it makes you all feel good because enough people have repeated it that you feel that it's the truth. It doesn't make it the truth. It's a permission structure. And so once the dangerous part about people like Mitch Daniels is that a Mitch Daniels is a credible person that comes in and blows up the permission structure because he has the honesty to say, yeah, maybe we shouldn't let the president cheat and we shouldn't participate in his cheating. And so then you have to call him a woke lib and what happened to Mitch Daniels and all that. Because
does he have, and this is the first time I do it, does he have the wherewithal to say what he's thinking, or does he have the permission from not needing the electorate anymore?
Ah.
Of course, he's got himself, but
now that I don't need to get elected, I can say what I want. And so, yeah, it's real easy when they say, Mitch Daniels was against it, Mike Pence was against it, two gentlemen that I know, but and if they were here, I'm not speaking out of turn. Two people who don't necessarily need to be too considerate of what the electorate thinks anymore. So
Thomas Massey just had a massive fundraising haul from around the country because he has balls. So wouldn't it be amazing if our elected officials had that same chutzpah and actually said what they think that went counter to their party, and maybe you'd get like more than 33% of this country does not vote. Do you know why they don't vote? It's because they don't see their beliefs and they don't see any moral courage on the ballot.
Right.
Libertarians do not steal from the right or left. They take about 10% equally from the Republican and Democratic candidate. They activate 90% of the voters, their voters, who see their belief system on. Like, I don't care if you lose. Like, would you rather go down as Jeff Sessions, who lost his seat, or Jeff Flake, who lost their seat and kind of become irrelevant and cash in as a lobbyist, as opposed to being known as like just this, like a cheater? Like, people listening to your voice, you're going to live in a gerrymandered district like I'm going to live in a gerrymandered district. And I just look at it and go, yeah, maybe Illinois did it, but that doesn't mean I want us to become Illinois, because look at them. They can't keep businesses in Illinois because no one wants to live under their cockamamie schemes. Like, we should not become them.
So now here's a question that I have, and it's a legit question. If
I'm suspect of that, but
yeah,
go ahead.
It's sus, very sus. If we're doing this now and we decide to, as a state, to realign all the congressional districts so that they up, congressional district 1, R plus 13 and or whatever it ends up being, and those things. If we're not just going to do that in 5 years, is the issue that we're doing it early, or is the issue that we're doing it at all? Because, again, we don't want to say, well, because Illinois did it, we're going to do it. You look at the congressional district maps of Indiana for the last 50 years, and they have been all sorts of wonky. We're at least somewhat cubed in where we draw our lines. So is the main issue that we are doing it at all to goose the number of Republicans in Washington, or is it the fact that we are doing it several years early?
It's the fact that you're doing it to disenfranchise Democratic voters. I mean, it's rigging the electorate to help a president maintain power. Like, you cannot deny that Donald Trump is doing this because he wants to increase Republican votes, because if he gets a Democrat Congress, he will no longer have the ability to pursue his agenda in the same way. And so when you break that norm, guess what? Democrats are going to do that back to you. Like, it's not a guarantee that one side will take over and permanently rule. You could end up with Trump losing big in the midterms because he's overreached, and then in 2030 is fleeing to Argentina because he has a favorable administration there, and then all chaos breaks loose. Like, right? So it's not just that they're doing it early; it's that they're doing it so nakedly to empower a president. And it's just another example of Congress laying down for the executive branch. They have completely, we never were meant to have a parliamentary system, but we do. And that's why our system isn't working. It's because it's not a system of votes at the local, state, and federal level that constrains power. It's that we have basically a parliamentary system, and so you're thrown into this chaos that France is in the middle of. France has no ability to govern and yet has this massive socialist state, and so you end up with societal chaos because people can't plan. Businesses can't plan, individuals can't plan, and that's my problem with the government shutdown stuff and the Doge stuff. It's you have to have stability. Bob, I ended up being a Mitch Daniels Republican somewhere along the way. Give businesses the ability to plan, the favorable regulatory environment for them to grow, allow innovation in your areas, and eventually it will all work out to a freer, more stable society. But when you have presidents flying around the country trying to rig elections against the will of the people, against the will of the legislators who are just going to bite the bullet and do it because they don't want to be yelled at. I'm sorry, it's not just the timing, it's the end goal, and it's the precedent that you're going to set. And so, there's a funny story. Back in 2010, I was pretty close to Todd Rokita, and Todd Rokita put together this plan called Rethinking Redistricting. And if you Google Rethinking Redistricting PDF or Rethinking Redistricting LPIN, you can see the plan that I preserved because it mysteriously disappeared when Todd Rokita put out non-gerrymandered districts in Indiana, and we're pretty good compared to a lot of states, but he wanted to use software to make it very fair, and it made the legislators so mad he wasn't able to run for Senate in 2012. And as soon as Charlie White got into office, he deleted that from the earth. And then Charlie White went to jail for voting in a district in which he did not live. And the people at the time said, we can't have our chief election official doing that. Now we have our chief election official doing that, plus giving sweetheart deals to his family and doing all kinds of other crazy stuff. It's just, if you look at our politics, our standards are quickly eroding. And as a conservative, you've got to conserve standards and traditions. And when you blow them up, you tear up that fence. Well, that fence was there for a reason, and I think we should be alarmed at how much we've eroded our standards in the name of power.
Okay, so that voice, Chris Spangle, tell people where they can find you online, where they can watch your podcast, and where they can see you.
Yeah, just look up The Chris Spangle Show. You can also look up We Are Libertarians, and you'll find all of our stuff there, and follow me on social media.
I appreciate it. Next time we'll have to bring Rob Kendall in. We'll bring you both in. It'll be all kinds of fun. So, hey, I love you, buddy. I appreciate you getting up and joining us. We'll have to do it again soon. But I always appreciate your take on things.
All right. Thanks, Chuck.
Okay, you take care. Okay, that was Chris Spangle. If you want to chime in, if you have your thoughts on that, Bob, I want to hear your thoughts on that. So let's take a break. We'll reset. We'll talk about that. We'll be back with more after this.
installing outdoor security cameras, or your business has plans to break ground on a new project in 2024, Powering Indiana, Lake County is your source for the region's best electricians. With IBEW, Local 697 electricians, you're choosing the highest level of safety and reliability. Visit poweringindiana.org today and ensure your project is in the hands of skilled professionals.
From the gas in your car to the heat in your home and the roads that you drive on, our work powers daily life. We are USW Local 71, the proud men and women of the Whiting Refinery. We're not just refinery workers. We're your friends and neighbors, raising our families here, shopping in the same stores, and cheering in the same stands. USW Local 71, powering the region because we are the region.
Are you searching for a college where you belong? Calumet College of St. Joseph wants to know you and give you the support you need to succeed. Are you worried about how you'll pay for your degree? 95% of our students receive financial aid, including scholarships and grants. Need some extra help with your classes? You'll benefit from our small class sizes, free tutoring, internship planning, faculty mentors, and so much more. Come experience our accepting, supportive college family for yourself. Schedule your campus visit and apply at ccsj.edu.
Tech Credit Union supports the essential role of union labor in building strong communities. That's why we offer hassle-free banking, financial empowerment, and a commitment to your success. Save for the future, handle life's challenges, and trust a partner that stands by hardworking union members. Tech Credit Union, the better option for you and your money. Visit techcu.org or call 800-276-8324. Tech Credit Union, supporting union families every step of the way.
At Strachan Van Til, we believe grocery shopping should be simple. Now, shopping is easier than ever with our new and improved website. Find what you need fast. Browse your favorite products, add them to your cart, and check out in just a few quick steps. Choose between convenient in-store pickup or let us handle the heavy lifting. From our shelves to your doorstep. Skip the lines, shop your way, and spend more time on what matters most. With our rewards program, enjoy incredible savings and personalized offers every time you shop. Shop online now at strachanvantil.com or download our app today.
.48 in the region. We had a nice extended interview, podcast style, with Chris Spangle. I enjoyed having him on. We have our issues, but again, they're based in sound libertarian fundamentals, and I want to get Bob's take on some of the things he said here in a minute. But let's take a quick look at traffic and weather. Right now, traffic looking pretty good here in the region. Not much to report. Again, if you're heading downtown, you got the usual delay on the Dan Ryan Bishop Ford looking good. 294 on the city looking good. So everything looking good. You just got that usual sort of slowdown heading into the city. Not even that bad for a Monday morning. So things looking good there. How is the weather, Joe?
All right. Can you hear me?
I can.
I never know anymore. All right. So today is going to be a high of 61, mostly sunny with some clouds. It is going to be very much the same on Tuesday with a high of 61, but a little more clouds and a little less sunlight. Wednesday, it'll drop a little bit down to 57, but there will be no sunshine, strictly cloudy. And then Thursday, dropping even more to a high of 52, and you're going to get some brief showers. And then heading into the weekend, Friday, Saturday, Sunday are all going to drop 1 degree every day from 53 to 52 to 51. You're going to have suns on Friday and Sunday and then showers on Saturday. So enjoy your weather this week.
Thank you. Okay, so we are taking calls, 219-845-1100 if you, whatever side you land on, but I want to hear your thoughts on what Chris had said. So that's sort of where I think the only thing that I sort of depart from Chris on, I mean, again, we agree on the fundamentals, but it's sort of like, why are you surprised we ended up here? And that's sort of, I get, people that are staunch sort of libertarian or, constitutional kind of people. I get why you can be frustrated with what Trump's doing, but it's also like, why are you surprised if you follow history? Again, even like when Ron called in, said, I'm outraged that Trump is blowing up these boats. Well, Obama blew up weddings. Bush was blowing. I mean, everybody was blowing stuff up as soon as we had drones.
Yeah,
people were blowing stuff up with them.
You're not justifying it. You're just saying.
Like, why are you surprised we're here?
Yeah.
And the fact that Rand Paul filibustered about this 10 years ago and nobody was paying attention, and now they're like, well, why didn't anybody warn us about this? Well, he tried. He spent 10 hours and you ignored him, just like you tend to do. And so that becomes the question is, at some point, you are going to see a president refuse to leave the White House. Is it going to be Trump? Is it going to be President Pritzker? I mean, again, like, are you going to get to that point? Probably. Is it going to happen under Trump? I don't know, because I honestly think Trump's so fed up. He's like, he's already ready to check out here in a little bit, just like Elon was like ready to go home. So, I mean, I think this idea that, you know, Trump's building this ballroom and he's not planning on leaving, or he's going to flee to Argentina. Again, I respect Chris, but I think it's just sort of hyperbole. I don't think we're at that point yet. I mean, and you know, we'll see. So what are your thoughts?
No, you know, I wish you were still here, only to say that, you know, I would never want to, you know, talk about someone else's opinion when they couldn't refute them. I think one of the issues I think the Libertarian Party has is they go after each other way too much. There is an absolutism about libertarianism.
You're not a real libertarian. No, I'm a real. Right, I get it.
I have never met a real libertarian, because every other libertarian will out libertarian them.
Right.
A lot of times I do say that I have a lot of libertarian tendencies. Now,
every Republican tells me that.
We do, but we also want to win an election.
Yeah.
You know, there's an old story of the Democrats who absolutely hate the NRA. They hate the NRA. There's about 5.5 million members of the NRA. So why don't you take some of the 20 million fake Democrat voters that voted for Biden in 2020, and why don't you have them all send in their mail-in ballots to join the NRA, and now you've got 20 million of your fake members in there, and next round of voting, vote one of your guys in as president of the NRA and change it that way. I don't understand why libertarians, rather than get into the fold and make change where they actually can, choose to just sit on and sit and demonize Republicans who, you know, are yes, not all of us are you know, extreme libertarians. You know, not all of us think. I think the Republicans have a much bigger tent, and I think some of that, the libertarian infighting that we always see, I think you are starting to see that in the Republican Party, where they start saying, "Well, you're a MAGA Republican. Oh no, you're a rhino." And I think you see a lot of that, and that is so damaging to a party that there has to be some type of litmus test to say, well, you can't be a libertarian if you are for any violence whatsoever. Well, nobody's for violence. Nobody is pro-war. I mean, some of that is just ignorant things to say, but at some point you do have to defend yourself. Will there be a boat that gets droned somewhere that didn't have any drugs? It could be. But are there probably more boats that are getting droned that have, you know, a ton of
barrels of
cocaine
fentanyl
on it,
and cocaine,
you know,
yeah.
And that's a calculated thing. And I think that, you know, some folks assume, and maybe this is where I put on my any libertarian hat that I may have, is I think folks who are not Republican think that Republicans think a lot more about Trump than we actually do. You know, and maybe it's just me. Maybe I'm not speaking for the entire party. Maybe I'm just speaking for Bob Starkey from Dyer, Indiana. You know, I don't watch the news. That's not to say that I'm not informed. But, you know, if Trump gets $300 million of donations from people to build the ballroom that has been planned for multiple administrations.
So he didn't have to rent a tent or whatever they do.
Yeah.
So, well, I mean, this becomes that sort of interesting philosophy is basically the never Trumpers think about Trump more than the Republicans or the Trumpers do.
They 100% no doubt on that.
But again, to your point, though, you're focused on. So we'll digress for a second. I went to your fundraiser the other day. We sat down. I broke bread with a lot of Republicans. We had good conversation. I sat with your chair, Randy Niemeyer.
I had my two favorite chairmen there.
Yeah, you're the only two you know. But
the only two I know. The only two that would come visit.
The only two that would come. We were hoping the other one would show up, but he wasn't there. So, but again, you're going to have Randy on at 8:30 to talk about. He's going to be heading downstate later today. But again, we all have good conversations. And I told Randy, I said, we agree on 95% of things. It's that 5%, but even, my relationship with our town of St. John, they put me on economic development. I don't sit here and beat my libertarian drum. I come in, I'm part of the team, and, we do good things. So again, that's when we talk about libertarianism, that's what I imagine is just, that's something that libertarians told me a long time ago. It's like, stop being on the outside fighting, be part of the team. And I've enjoyed working with, both sides, and Democrats are welcome to reach out to me. But again, even I tell the story. I think I can tell the story. When you first started running for office, you reached out to me, said, let's have some lunch because I want to hear your crazy libertarian ideas on things. You didn't listen to a thing I told you, but at least you took me to lunch.
But I was well informed.
You're well informed. But again, and what did I tell you? I just said, hey, don't burden the taxpayers with a bunch of projects, and the projects that you guys are embarking on now, you're paying for them. You're not bonding out. You're not putting future generations in debt. So for that perspective, at least I feel like you listened to me a little bit by not burdening people with, shiny projects.
There, another person that another famous Indiana libertarian, Mark Rutherford.
Mark is the one who told me just, get in, work with the team.
There have been several times. And that I have reached out to him, and we've had phone conversations where I will call him and I'll say, listen, we need to do something. Things cost money that are required. It was before we did a utility bond in Dyer. And it's like, we need water in town. I know that's something that St. John, you all are struggling with.
No, we're good.
But, we need water. And the only way to get this project done is we need to bond out for it. Now, this was several years ago. And I talked with him about how do you do it? What are the moral implications of increasing taxes on folks? And it ended up not being exactly what we thought it would be. And so now we have water and nobody's burdened.
we had a similar discussion in St. John, and I said, you know what? Do a Zoom and be honest about it. And that's literally what we did. We had a Zoom meeting. I said, have an open meeting, have an open discussion live on Zoom, and tell people what you're doing and why. And so they understand.
Now, this would be my advice for St. John. If you're listening, St. John folks, put Chuck on NERPC.
We'll see if Bill's listening this morning. Just why don't you cut that clip out? We'll email it to him.
Do that.
Okay.
Thanks, Chris, for calling in.
No, that was fun.
And you're right. For the most part, I would have to assume that what would you say, 95% of the time that we agree on most things. You're never going to find there's only one person in the world that you'll agree with 100% of the time, and that's yourself. And if that's the person that you believe in the most, run for office.
See, here's the thing, though. I don't believe him. I keep always saying, like, here's what I think is going to happen, but I hope I'm wrong. Like, I argue with myself. I'm like, I hope you're wrong about this because that's bad. It's like if I'm right about what I think is going to happen, that's not good. I'd rather be wrong. We got a couple minutes. Why don't we take some callers? I know people have been patiently waiting. Let's go ahead and take some callers. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Yeah, your guest there, first off, fascism is an amalgam of giant big businesses with government. We've had that in our country since Eisenhower left office, and it's nothing new.
Right.
Matter of fact, that's where the MAGA movement actually birthed it out of, is because people are sick of these big giant corporations being in bed with the government. You got a swinging door in Washington where people leave government, go right into business and back and forth. Defense contractors, pharma, yeah, you name it.
And I always say, it's like these people that say they hate capitalism, I said, you don't hate capitalism, you hate cronyism. And there's a big difference. What we're doing right now is cronyism, not capitalism.
Right. I would even go as far as say fascism. Fascism is not capitalism, and that's what you've got. The big guys crush the little guys. There's no competition.
Right.
And the other thing, as far as the election being stolen, well, when you got Democratic judges that refuse to look at the evidence, when you've got videos where people are actually locking out Republican judges out of polling places, where boxes of ballots are pulled out under tables and counted after the polls closed, where water leaks happen, and all of a sudden that those districts, the polls, voting flips. When you got truckers that are bringing in out-of-state ballots by the semi-load into another state, when you refuse to look at the evidence, you're going to say, hey, nothing to see here, just like in Casablanca.
Well, and that becomes the question: is that if you had these completely transparent and open elections, then you wouldn't be able to have these arguments about what happened at 3 a.m. Right? If you had
Can somebody say what is wrong with paper ballots? What is so bad? Look at ever since we've gone to this electronic grid we've got now in our country, things are continually getting screwed up. We've had cyber outages all this last week or so. Why does everything have to be electronic? Well, probably because it's easier to rig.
Right. So, okay, why don't we take a break? We're going to reset. So I appreciate the call. Let's take a break. It is 8 o'clock in the region. You're listening to AM 1230, 104.7 FM in beautiful Hammond, Indiana.
Installing outdoor security cameras, or your business has plans to break ground on a new project in 2024, Powering Indiana. Lake County is your source for the region's best electricians. With IBEW, Local 697 electricians, you're choosing the highest level of safety and reliability. Visit poweringindiana.org today and ensure your project is in the hands of skilled professionals.
From the gas in your car to the heat in your home and the roads that you drive on, our work powers daily life. We are USW Local 71, the proud men and women of the Whiting Refinery. We're not just refinery workers. We're your friends and neighbors, raising our families here, shopping in the same stores, and cheering in the same stands. USW Local 71, powering the region because we are the region.
Are you searching for a college where you belong? Calumet College of St. Joseph wants to know you and give you the support you need to succeed. Are you worried about how you'll pay for your degree? 95% of our students receive financial aid, including scholarships and grants. Need some extra help with your classes? You'll benefit from our small class sizes, free tutoring, internship planning, faculty mentors, and so much more. Come experience our accepting, supportive college family for yourself. Schedule your campus visit and apply at ccsj.edu.
Tech Credit Union supports the essential role of union labor in building strong communities. That's why we offer hassle-free banking, financial empowerment, and a commitment to your success. Save for the future, handle life's challenges, and trust a partner that stands by hardworking union members. Tech Credit Union, the better option for you and your money. Visit techcu.org or call 800-276-8324. Tech Credit Union, supporting union families every step of the way.
At Strachan Van Til, we believe grocery shopping should be simple. Now, shopping is easier than ever with our new and improved website. Find what you need fast. Browse your favorite products, add them to your cart, and check out in just a few quick steps. Choose between convenient in-store pickup or let us handle the heavy lifting. From our shelves to your doorstep. Skip the lines, shop your way, and spend more time on what matters most. With our rewards program, enjoy incredible savings and personalized offers every time you shop. Shop online now at strachanvantil.com or download our app today.
Oh,
welcome back.
No, go ahead. Yeah, just vamp for a second. There you go. Do you know how to do traffic?
I don't have any of the traffics out.
Okay, I can do traffic, and then we'll let Joe do stuff, and then you guys we forgot. You know, you're gonna have to fill, so I can go get that surprise out of the microwave. So, okay, so let's take a quick look at traffic. Things looking good in the region. Not much to report. You got the usual slowdown, Dan Ryan to downtown, heading to Chicago. Other than that, things looking good in Illinois. Don't see anything really traffic-wise. But if you see something, you know the number, 219-845-1100. Joe, why don't you take a look at weather, and then Bob's going to fill.
Okay. I mean, I can grab it for you. All right, never mind. What? I said I could grab it for you out of the microwave if you. All right. All right, so today we're going to have a high of 61 and a lot of sun. Tuesday is going to be very much the same with the same high of 61, except we're going to have a little more clouds. Wednesday, the sun's going to disappear for a little bit, but it won't get much cooler. It'll be a high of 57. Thursday, you'll get the only rain of the week. Oh, I lied. So you get one of the rains of the week, and it's going to be a high of 52, cloudy. It's only going to be a brief shower, however. Then going into the weekend, the temperature is going to steadily drop by 1 degree. So Friday is going to be 53 and sunny. Saturday is going to be 52, sunny, but you're going to have some showers. And then Sunday is going to be a high of 51 with plenty of sun. So enjoy the weekend. It'll be nice, I think. And that's your weather for the week.
That was a fantastic weather report here. Friday, for a while, it was looking like there might be rain on Friday. And Friday is the big trick-or-treat day.
Yeah, I know. I'm excited. Usually Halloween doesn't fall on, or I guess it falls on a weekend.
So what we did in Dyer, because it falls on a Friday, we extended the hours, which, you know, we hear a lot of folks saying, well, you know, back in my day, we just went out until the street lights, you know, or rather the house lights turned off, and that was it. But trying to add some type of structure to it. So we've always had a 3-hour window, but now we're doing from 4 to 8.
That's nice.
It's a Friday. I think it gets dark about 6:30 anymore. So that way at 4 o'clock, and we do get a little bit of grief about the 4 o'clock start. But this is what had happened. For one, you're never going to make everybody happy. We know this. But we started 4 because we started getting a lot of calls from parents who their kids were coming home from school. That was the Halloween party. They were all dressed up. They were amped up, ready to go. You know, the little kids who need to be in the wagon and run upstairs, they're not going to be doing that at 7 or 8 o'clock at night. They like doing it during the day. So we just cast a wide net and we say, hey, from 4 to 8, go, have fun. And, you know, I never have any problem with the big kids. Every once in a while you'll see on social media, you know, a bunch of teenagers walking around. I have zero issue with teenagers walking around, even if they aren't dressed. Come grab some candy. It doesn't really matter. But I do have some thoughts here, and as Chuck is nuking some a special prize, a surprise for all of us to look at. If any caller now, or just something to think about, the amount of trick or trunks or trunk or treats, whatever they're called, I think it's ruining Halloween. I don't know if anybody has any thoughts on that. There are so many of them.
We actually did one.
I know, and the picture looked great.
We all dressed up as Jed.
You all dressed up as Jed.
It was a lot of fun.
And it looked like fun, but I don't know if it's a popular take on my end or not, but I believe the mask going. I think just in the Tri-Town area, I think there was truly half a dozen, overlapped all at the same time. And, yeah, it was, I think it's ruining Halloween.
I mean, I personally, I enjoy trick-or-treating, and I like that you guys extended it because I feel like I understand the point that you made about starting at 4 makes a lot of sense. But I feel like trick-or-treating is meant to be done in the dark, you know what I mean? But I totally understand where you're coming from because, like, no kid's going to want to sit down for 2 hours in their costume waiting to go trick-or-treating.
You get home from school, and it's for the little kids. And, every year we get folks that say, oh, it's too early. Yeah, but we also have it later than most folks, too, and I don't know.
You got to think about it this way for those teenagers that don't dress up because every teenager goes through that phase right now. Just think of them as dressing up as brooding teenagers.
Yeah, I have no issue with that. One thing that we have, while I don't know that I want to openly encourage this on the air, I mean, whatever. We do get Dyer, border community. We get a ton of folks come over from Illinois. And they'll come and they'll park and they'll trick or treat with us, and I have no problem with that. Come on over, kids, come over. Just here. Just
jump in.
Just jump in.
We're just. Uh oh.
So yeah,
can you reframe for that?
Huh?
Or do you want to reframe? We're gonna
Yeah,
have.
I will.
I apologize. Randy just showed up. He showed up, and I didn't have any soup for him, but you'll have to share. Yeah, Randy's like, what? Yeah, we were having a nice spirited debate about redistricting and things like that, and then we were just about to have some soup for breakfast. Why don't you put him on? I think he's going to be on number 3.
You know, I actually used the term gerrymandering yesterday for the first time in a sentence, and
Yeah.
I actually learned it on this show.
Use this word in a sentence. Well, and so it is crazy when you look at some of the, I forget is it like Illinois District 3 or something like that. I mean, it's no joke.
When you got a congressional district that starts
Joe,
on the Mississippi and ends, whoa, you're delisting over there.
Oh, yeah, this thing is broken. I don't know why it keeps doing that.
Hold her, Buford. She's heading for the barn.
We've thrown this whole thing
forgot that it does
way off now, trying to get Bob and I both in the same frame.
Oh, look, and now the carpet. Jed, I'm gluing the carpet down next week. I'm not taking no for an answer.
This is an OSHA violation.
Yeah,
of some sort
a high hazard,
Good
tripping
Lord.
hazard. Now I got to readjust everything.
Look,
it
now it's
doesn't
going the
stop.
other way.
Oh, maybe
Okay, so Randy walks in. I'm like, come on in, Randy. Just join us. Randy Niemeyer here in the studio. We were just about to have some soup, Randy. I was just about to show the audience. We're having what may be the last bowl of Commander lemon rice soup. Commander closed after it was 50 years yesterday.
Something like that.
So they're going to be rebranding. They're not closing, they're rebranding, but I think the lemon rice soup is going to go away. So this may be. So I'm just gonna smell it. This is the last Commander lemon rice soup. I'm going to eat it with.
Now you're like every other influencer out there on TikTok. Everything's about watching them eat
Right.
and eating very loud.
Oh, so I have. If someone wants to call or text, or I could Google now. Oh my gosh, I want to toss Chuck out the window. I'm going to yeet him out onto 41 here. I can't stand the sound of
Maybe
people
don't
eating.
eat that whole thing on the mic.
Okay, well.
Oh my God, there's a term for it that you can't. The sound of people eating or chewing bothers you. I've said this on my own podcast, Dad Bod Walking. Check it out. I actually don't eat with my family anymore. We have a large kitchen when we have family dinners, a dining room kitchen. I don't know what you're doing with that, but that's fantastic. Oh, just a tight shot on Chuck's face is what we all need on a Monday morning.
Just lock it down.
I walked in and I just completely threw this
you
place
threw it
upside
off.
down.
So I will stand in the kitchen and eat. So I'm in the same room. It's a large room. We're social that way, but I can't stand the sound of chewing and gnashing and slurping.
But that's every influencer on social media now.
Yes.
They're constantly just stuffing their face with garbage and eating as loud as they can, and they have 1 million followers.
Yeah.
What the heck is wrong with this country?
I don't know. I sure hope you're here to tell us how you're going to fix it. But
I wish I knew.
Okay, so but real quick before we bring, let's take a couple. We had some people waiting. Let's take this call. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Good morning, gentlemen.
How are you, sir?
Good morning.
I'm good. Did I get it wrong, or is Matlock all for the death and destruction these drug boats are bringing in?
So, Matlock believes they are innocent fishermen that are being indiscriminately blown up by drones. And so, on the other side, Bob says they are probably mostly drug boats. You may miss once in a while, but for the most part, these are people bringing cocaine, fentanyl, et cetera, into the country. So this becomes.
All right.
So let me bring Randy up to speed real quick. Randy, we were talking about this idea of. So, like, for instance,
I was listening to it
okay,
on
so
the
you
way
know.
in.
So I mean, kind of this idea
it's the only
of
radio show you'd want to listen to in the morning.
That's it.
it's his second favorite radio
This
show.
is it.
Yeah.
So okay, so what are your thoughts? I mean, again, so that Matlock's perspective is these are all innocent fishermen just being indiscriminately targeted by predator drones, while they're just making a living. So again, sort of the two realities thing here.
Well,
okay. And Matlock's the same guy that just said he was in the Harris-Biden office when those things were occurring, so on and so forth. Hey, Bob.
Yeah.
This is for you, Bob. Bob, remember when we put on our African garb and went on bended knee for George Floyd? That was a good look, wasn't it?
It would require a lot of garb for me to cover all this. You'd need a tent maker. I'm sure there's Hammond tent maker and awning that could make me some some garb, but yeah.
And to Mr. Niemeyer, if redistricting is cheating, as they're saying, was the Steele dossier cheating?
Well, exactly. I mean, this is, again, I was listening to, what was the name, Spackle?
Spangle.
Oh.
Spackle.
Spackle.
No, from now
well,
on.
I'm going to send him that clip. But.
From now on.
I was listening to the guest before, Spackle, talk about redistricting as cheating. And actually, redistricting is the legal process of doing this. Things like the Steele dossier were clearly an attempt to undermine an election by the government to overthrow a government. So, yeah, there's a huge difference between the two.
Hey, if redistricting is what it takes to get Niemeyer in and Mervan out, and Niemeyer can bring some common sense to what's going on and can stand tall. And speaking of standing tall, Mervan lost me when his handlers wouldn't let him stand for that kid. After that, I don't care what comes out of his mouth. If you are that, Starkey, what's the word? Give me a word for deplorable. You're not going anywhere with me. I'm all for Randy Niemeyer and redistricting. Randy, I wish you the very best.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it. And doing the work that I'm doing, trying to educate people on the process and making sure that folks can make good decisions with actual information because it's not just opinions. There's actual constitutional basis for this. There are things that happened in the 2020 census that actually cost Republicans 5 seats. And the post-enumeration survey of the Census Bureau even said that. It was 14 states that were miscounted. So necessary things to look at.
Randy, there's a saying, in matters of life and death, if you ain't cheating, you ain't trying. And when we're talking about our country, if redistricting is cheating, I'm all for it.
Well, I appreciate the call because that's a perfect segue because I wanted to ask that question is we know.
Oh, you're going to use all my good region Republican content on your show, and then
okay. Well, no, you can just pick up where you left off. So, or I could just stick around for my fun.
There's one thing that's a common thread between the fall of Chuck and Bob, which I love the title. It has so many meanings. And region Republicans is you can bet that the content won't be that exciting.
That's true.
Right.
Well, and that's why I always said it's kind of like when libertarians debate. It's very boring because well, I agree with you. Yeah, I agree with him. Okay, moving on.
Right.
I've never seen two libertarians agree with each other.
We do during real debates. But
I'm sorry for
okay, no. So, I mean, this becomes an inherent question is the other side is calling it cheating, but the Republicans are basically calling it just putting things back the way they should have been. And that becomes the inherent question is you have, again, every one of these discussions is so far apart that how do you find that common ground of trying to explain to somebody, what we're doing is unconventional, but in our mind, here's why we want to do it. Again, I was saying earlier about even the No Kings protest. Where are your grievances? You can't show up dressed like a unicorn shouting without real grievances and expect me to take you seriously. So that's the same thing is I want to hear both sides present arguments and grievances as to why they're doing what they're doing.
Yeah, and I think you're starting to see that come out on the Republican side where the Democrats are just saying it's cheating, which technically it is not. It's a process. It's a legal process. And on our side, you're starting to see people talk about the constitutionality of things, the proper counts in the census. You've seen in the last 2 Congresses a legislator from North Carolina, Chuck Edwards, introduced the Equal Representation Act, which had 0 Democrat votes, including far-left Frank here in Northwest Indiana. And that Equal Representation Act is a simple adjustment to the census that requires a citizenship question. It doesn't mean the people won't be counted. It just means that they won't be counted towards the basis of apportionment.
Okay, so
which is common sense.
So states' rights thing, if somebody like California wants to allow people that are here illegally to vote in local elections, should that be allowed if the people choose that?
Absolutely not, because they're here on the predicate of an illegal act. The Democrats talk about nobody is above the law. unless it's illegal immigrants. Right? That is the funniest thing. That nobody's above the law. All illegal immigrants are. They get to vote. They get to realize the welfare benefits. And the constitutionality of this whole thing is when you have states and cities around the country making laws that usurp the federal authority of sovereignty of our borders, that create an incentive to bring illegal immigrants to this country. They are usurping the federal government. Therefore, they've created the constitutional basis to challenge the count of the census.
Okay, so then what should be the reaction from the federal government? What's happening now with ICE? Should it be taking away federal dollars? What would be the proper reaction to that?
Well, the taking away of federal dollars, I think, is punitive, right? And if Congress is appropriated, even if they appropriate money very stupidly, which they often do, they still appropriated it. The enforcement mechanism is what should be being used, as well as the constitutional mechanism. So those two things together, I think, are the most important. The sanctuary laws, these states and cities should be sued by the federal government and held liable for their sanctuary laws, which are unconstitutional.
So you think that's the direction we should be going in?
Absolutely.
Okay, so I'm going to ask you another question. Mr. Spackle brought up the idea that
I thought of that on the way in here. I'm like, what's a nickname for this crazy
libertarian? Make a meme about
right?
it. Okay, so there's this idea that, and again, I've seen this all over the internet, this idea that President Trump is building a ballroom because he has no plans to leave, which I think, again, is funny when you look at the history of White House renovations. And I talked about the idea. I said even, under the Obama administration, they dug a big hole. They said, it's just utilities. And then as it turns out, there was a bunker being built. They didn't even tell you what was being built. There was no blueprints. All of the construction vehicles had tape over their names, so you didn't know who it was. It's like, at least Trump gave you a blueprint. At least he told you what he was doing. So again, hypocrisy. But, okay, you're in the situation as a Republican where Trump refuses to leave. Theoretically, Trump says, we're not leaving. He says, I'm not leaving. What is the Republican response to that?
That is such ridiculous hyperbole.
Okay.
And Trump basically says it to troll everyone.
Right.
In one of those candid interviews that he did yesterday, they asked him about 2028, and he was promoting J.D. Vance and Marco Rubio. So the Democrats just love to wrap their arms around this because it gets everybody excited.
Well, even like making the hats and things like that. It's just, again,
of course.
I have this theory that at the end of the day, President Trump goes home with a few different people. He turns on the TV and said, look what I made them say today. Again, that's the exact same thing I would do if I was. I'd say, look what I got him to say today. So again, he's doing like the 2028 hats just to mess with people. And I think at the end of the day, he's probably just as frustrated. Like Elon Musk left in frustration. I think at some point Trump's going to say, you know what, I'm good. I'm done. I've put in my 8 years. I think he has no intention of sticking around. He wants to go back to Mar-a-Lago, just like anybody else. So
I don't know how he would go another term physically. I don't think he sleeps.
Right.
The guy is awake and he's crossing international date lines, and he's in Kuala Lumpur, and who knows how you follow this guy around.
Right.
And I've spoke with some folks that work in the White House political realm, and they're like, this guy's out of his mind, right? He is just aggressive and energetic and consistent. He never stops. So
it's
all
there
bunch
is
of nonsense.
even for the folks who dislike Trump, I think you wouldn't be honest with yourself if you didn't say, for some reason, this guy has an Energizer bunny mentality where he just constantly goes, and you just don't. Maybe you saw Obama be a bit of a workhorse, but you just don't see Trump's level of engagement. He at any given time, he will sit down and he'll have a 3-hour press conference and not even blink an eye.
And to think he went from being a McDonald's employee to president.
That's
amazing.
Yeah.
Okay, so my last question, I'm going to take a couple calls before you guys reset. Okay, so Randy, we hit $38 trillion in debt the other day. I make it a point to talk about it. regardless who's
and
in the
I
White
blame
House.
the libertarians online.
I accept that. It was all me. Yes.
For the four of you that have a podcast,
yes. We used all that money to build stealth fighter jets. Okay. So at what point, and again, this is something that we can blame both parties for this. Mm-hmm. It's something that, again, everybody likes to pin it on Trump or whoever. This is something that's been happening for decades now. And we talk about not only the debt, but also the debt to GDP ratios going up and all these different things. What do you see specifically from your party? I know that there are some in the Republican Party that talk about it. There's very few in the Democratic Party that talk about it. Where do we go? How do we start this blueprint? What is going to be the catalyst to get people to start talking about this seriously, besides Massey and Rand Paul? We need to get the entire party on board, and we need to get the Republican Party working with the Democrat Party on a long-term plan if we're going to fix this. Is that even possible?
Yeah, I follow Rand Paul and Thomas Massey pretty closely. They're a couple people I respect in government in general, and I think there's quite a few other conservative members of the House and the Senate that are looking towards this, but nobody's committing to it because the entire system has been set up as its own industrial complex. Right. Federal spending in fiscal year 2025 is up to $7 trillion, $7.1 trillion.
So we're spending over $7 trillion. We're only bringing in five and a half.
Yeah.
So even this idea of tax the rich, that still leaves you $1 trillion gap. I mean, there's no amount of taxing the rich that will balance this budget.
If government can't do it with 30% or 40% or whatever the total share of taxes they get, then what makes you think 2% more is going to do the trick? That's the magic number.
Right. They're just going to spend $8 trillion if you take more money.
Yeah, well, and to resolve it, you do have to have a long-term plan. As we saw under the Biden administration, when they blew out the federal budget, increased spending by 50% in the 2 years the Democrats had the House, the Senate, and the White House, 50%. That this is not transitory, right? It's not easy to fix. These things get woven into the system. It creates their own industry around it that helps to support the system. DOGE was put in place to help root that out, which in some cases it did, and it stopped the legalized money laundering through the appropriations process that happens within that government industrial complex. But to fix it's going to take a 20 and 30-year commitment of fiscal discipline, of the simple principles that your listener, and I said listener, there's probably one, right? One or two. But
Bob's wife is listening.
But
I true story. I was actually getting a text from her telling me what my sound auditory issue was, and that I was a pain in the.
Well, we knew that.
But the listeners have to live their life in a certain way, and right now, I think the statistic is, I'd have to check the debt clock, but every American. Every person living in this country is over $110,000 of federal debt wrapped around their neck from the time they're born. That is unfair. It's a national security issue. It's a risk to our entire system of self-government.
What'd you say, 110? You're right on the money.
Yeah.
So that's why I always joke, like when my daughter was born, her first piece of mail was her Social Security card. I said, well, welcome to $100,000 in debt. It's your first piece of mail.
Yeah, it's really a frightening thing to think that my grandkids that aren't here yet, we're spending their money already.
Right.
And at some point, we have to get back to the basics of governance. I have no problem with government fulfilling its core functions, but we've got to start eliminating these things that aren't core functions and give some responsibility and agency back to people.
Well, that's the inherent problem, though, is everybody thinks that every program is inherent. You have a right to health care. You have a right to this, a right. You don't have a right to any of these things.
Well, and when you say funding increased 50%, on what?
Yeah, what have you gotten for it?
On
more
what?
bureaucracy.
I mean,
government.
I don't have an aircraft carrier yet, so perhaps that's where the money's going.
Amazon's got it on overnight delivery.
I bought mine on Wish. It's not nearly what I was expecting.
But really, I think
TikTok
that's a great
shop?
question. Yeah. Is what did you spend twice as much on?
And that's the problem. That's where Doge came in and said, we just want to know where this money's going.
Yeah.
They couldn't explain it. And then what did we do?
Even if you told me, I might agree with it. I don't know, but you don't tell me. So
okay, Joe, do we have any calls? Let's take a couple quick calls before I go, and then so Randy and Bob will be here, so they're going to continue the conversation. I'm going to get out of the way, but let's take a quick call before I go. Go ahead. Morning, caller, you're on the air.
How you doing, Chuck?
Morning. How are you?
Well, let me say this about ballots. Last time I checked, I thought it was combo electronic and paper.
Well, there's electronic. You vote electronically, and then there's a thing called
But
a
it gets
VVPAT.
printed out.
Yeah, it's a VVPAT, which was actually implemented in Indiana in this last election cycle.
Yeah, I mean, last time I voted here in Illinois, I mean, yeah, you're putting your vote in the computer, but then you print it out and hand it to the ballot person.
Well, then the question is, how does it still take so long? I mean, the joke is, you can vote on American Idol. 40 million people can vote over a commercial break, yet it still takes us all night and several days in some cases to count votes, right? I mean, again, it's like...
And that's an honest voting system on American Idol.
Right. Well, I mean, hey, I mean, at this point, whatever. Again, the idea that they can count votes in 5 minutes and it takes us days and weeks to count votes.
Which I don't understand because I've been a part of it here in Lake County, and it doesn't take that long.
And maybe part of the process is more kind of just like auditing everything to death and kind of cross-checking and making...
You would hope so. I mean, you hope that's the process.
Yeah, hope that's the process,
right.
They're kind of auditing this and making sure the numbers are, like, as accurate as they can be. That's what you're hoping.
Right.
Yeah, by no means is Indiana perfect in its systems, but it's far and away more perfect than the state right next to us, that it's basically a free-for-all, no ID. If you try to show it, they say, no, put that away. I show
my ID.
What's that, sir?
I show my ID.
Yeah, I mean, and you should. I mean, anybody should be okay with showing an ID. This idea that is the biggest barrier to voting. There's a meme online that shows all the things that you have to show ID for, but the one that you don't is voting.
Right.
I mean, give me a break.
Even that becomes a bigger argument. If somebody doesn't have an ID, you should be helping them get one because they can't live in this society without an ID. They can't do anything.
Correct.
So that should be the focus. Is I've yet to meet one of these people, but if I did, I'd be the first one driving them to the DMV and buying them a license. Right. I mean, find me one of these people. I've yet to see one.
Or getting whatever ID.
Right, but again, it costs $4 or $7.
Wait a second, Chuck. Did I just hear that you're going to start a system
of
transporting people to the DMV for IDs
and I'm going to give them a
licenses?
sandwich while they're at the DMV.
This is a scandal.
It
I
is.
mean, this is truly the fall of Chuck.
Public transportation. He's going to pick them up.
Or take them with a train.
Line.
We're going to put a DMV right at the end of the line in Munster, and we're going to put them on the train and get them
drive right through the bike trails just to get there quicker.
But again, that's the thing, is that there's this hyperbole of people don't have IDs, but I've yet to meet that person that said, I can't vote because I don't have an ID. It's like, we'll drive you right now to get you an ID, right? I mean, I've yet to meet that person.
You heard it.
Okay, so anything else before we go?
Well, that was one of the things I think I wanted to at least touch upon, and I'm sure there's more, but I think you're about ready to head out.
Yeah, I'm going to be out the door. They got a whole other half hour.
Yeah.
I always enjoy it. I never get invited on the Republican show, but maybe that's because I didn't pay for it, but that's fine.
Well, I'm the chairman, and I follow state party rules. I don't have any libertarians on the show.
Yeah.
It's literally written in stone. Okay. That's fine. I see how it is. That's fine. That's fine. See if you ever come back on my show. Okay, so thank you, caller.
He literally just walked in.
I waved him in. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I gotta go. Go ahead, hang up, and then we're gonna reset. They're gonna do their show. I'm gonna get out of the way.
We'll be back in about 5-6 minutes.
They'll be back, and he's got to move his microphone and eat his soup and everything. It's gonna be a couple minutes. Okay, so I appreciate everybody tuning in to the new show here, the fall of Chuck and Bob. Randy, you've not fallen yet, but stick around. Maybe you will. Another half hour with Randy. You guys are going to talk about redistricting and all that other fun stuff. So I appreciate you guys tuning in. We'll be back again next week.
Legal issues arise, whether it's a car accident, personal injury, criminal charge, or representing you before municipal boards. You need a trusted advocate on your side. At Westland & Bennett, we listen first because your story matters. We provide strategic, personalized legal solutions to protect your rights, your freedom, and your future. Peace of mind starts with a conversation. Call 219-440-7550 today for a free consultation.
Becoming a truck driver doesn't have to be complicated. At Schneider, we make it easy to get your commercial driver's license and start your new career. With our CDL apprenticeship training, you'll get paid to become a truck driver in just 5 to 6 weeks and have a Schneider driving job waiting for you when you've completed the program. Plus, during training, Schneider will provide transportation, lodging, and meals at no cost to you. Ready to get your career on the road? Learn more and apply today at SchneiderJobs.com. That's SchneiderJobs.com.
At Strachan Van Til, we believe grocery shopping should be simple. Now, shopping is easier than ever with our new and improved website. Find what you need fast. Browse your favorite products, add them to your cart, and check out in just a few quick steps. Choose between convenient in-store pickup or let us handle the heavy lifting. From our shelves to your doorstep. Skip the lines, shop your way, and spend more time on what matters most. With our rewards program, enjoy incredible savings and personalized offers every time you shop. Shop online now at StrachanVanTil.com or download our app today.
Hard Rock Casino Northern Indiana wants to make you a winner every Friday in October with our $500K Double Down giveaway. Earn entries each week to boost your chance of winning a guaranteed $50,000. Then you can choose to walk away or risk half for a shot at $100,000 in cash. Do you dare to double down? Only at Hard Rock Casino Northern Indiana, just off Exit 6, I-80-94. Must be 21 or older. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-9-WITH-IT.
Siri, read me that text.
Sorry, I can't complete your request.
You want me to read that?
No, I got it.
Construction zone.
I see it.
Watch it.
Oh.
Oh my God. You're gonna hit him!
Oh, fuck!
When driving in a construction zone, be smart, be alert, be in the zone.
This is Brian Short, business manager for the Indiana Laborers District Council. Everyone deserves a safe place to work. Do your part in the cone zone. Slow down, save lives. We're all in this together.
A message from Indiana's District Council of Laborers International Union of North America and affiliated locals.